Alan Robson's Night Owls now.
0191 488 3188.
This is real life conversation with the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Welcome back. Alan Robson with you, of course, on Greatest Hits Northeast. Thank you very much for joining us, and spread the word of the owl, especially for next Saturday's special, and of course back here on the Sunday. We're starting off with Gavin, who's in Wickham. Hiya, Gavin.
Hello, Mr. Robson. How are you?
Hello, sir. Good to talk to you. I'm fine. What can we do for you tonight?
It's just like for Halloween, because it's going to be obviously extremely different this year from what's going on and stuff. So,
yeah.
Have you got any kind of like grizzly trails, kind of like tours or like ghost hunts? Yeah.
Well, we can't do meeting up with a whole pile of people, because we did have a load of them planned that we've had to put off because of what's going on. So what we're going to be doing on Saturday is giving you a visual grizzly trail of a few places, and then finishing with a brand new story that you may well not have heard before. And we're going to be in a studio live taking other people's ghost stories all night, because we know we've got to do it a totally different way. So we're going to try something totally different, because it's the thing to do, and Halloween's always been ours. We're going to make sure that it stays ours too. So what are you doing? I mean, how can you change the in-the-house thing?
I don't know what, I mean, at the end of the day, I was thinking about maybe there's a few places I knew that's like Castle Keep. Obviously, I don't know if that's going to be open. But before I mentioned, there's like all these underground tunnels somewhere in the town that you can go to, like on your own or as like 2 or 3 years or whatever. I don't know where they may be.
Right. Well, I do, but they'll be closed off, and also they don't want you in 2s or 3s mixing outside your own family bubble.
Oh no! I'm just thinking
that's the thing.
Important for me, so I'm thinking of like just maybe going out and I don't know, just finding something to do.
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, usually people would be having Halloween parties and going into town where all the pubs and bars and nightclubs have everybody in fancy dress and stuff. It's going to be very, very different. You see the adverts on the telly of people saying, let's get the kids all dressed up and we'll make it a really funky and fun kind of thing. I think it's hard work keeping kids in a Halloween party with your parents that you just saw get dressed up 5 minutes ago. I'm not sure that's going to carry it for me, but we'll be doing what we can on screen for you. So
that'll be good. If I'm staying indoors, I'm just going to put like loads of party food on, get some drink in, tune in late and stuff as you do.
Yeah, I know. It's just everything's different, and nothing's as good as we want it to be. But if what you can't change, you got to live with and make the best of. Simple as.
Yeah, that's it. Just moving on to the next subject. These face masks, right?
Yeah.
So since March, I've worked through the whole of the pandemic, me in like different call centres. I'm working from home now, anyway, for the NHS, taking inbound calls for COVID.
Right.
So the human rights side of these face masks is voluntarily you could just say, look, I'm not wearing one, but you've got to deal with a fine if you get fined. But that means obviously you can't go into a shop because it's mandatory to go into a shop. You have to wear face masks and stuff like that, which I totally agree on.
Yeah.
My partner said as well, if you don't want to wear face masks, then you're going to risk your exposure of somebody maybe won't be in the till, or somebody who's got asthma who's in the shop who they're saying is exempt. You're going to risk your health as well. So it's kind of silly if you don't wear one.
Right. No, I get that. It's the thing that is interesting is some guy, and I'm not going to give his name. He got a lanyard printed, and he wears it around his neck, and he's got one of those things that can make him like emboss them and make them look like they're the real business. And on it, it says exempt. But on the other side of it, he's printed, because it's all a load of, because he's sick to death of people saying, wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask. He says he doesn't want to wear a mask. And now nobody asks him to put one on because he's got exempt written around his neck. And he's only exempt because he's not prepared to wear one. I don't know how you put that right. Yeah. I've got one in my pocket. In every jacket I've got a face mask just in case. And whether I believe it or whether I don't, it's just polite. And if it genuinely does keep people safe, hurrah. If it doesn't, it's a precaution. So I don't think it's heinous. I don't like it, but I don't know anybody who actually thinks it's the perfect fashion accessory.
I mean, it's like I go all the way to Tesco, right, and then go, oh, I haven't got my face mask, and I've got to whack all the way. Yeah, because I don't keep it in my pocket. You know what I mean? So,
I think we've all done that. I remember driving into Newcastle, and again coming down from the Scottish borders into Newcastle, parked up, and remember I'd left it on the table. So then you've got to say, well, I'd go in the shop and I'd buy one, but I can't go in the shop because I haven't got one. Nightmare, whole thing. Anything else while you're on then, Gav?
Top of my head, I'm just thinking COVID related. Nah, it's out of the media anyway. I was going to mention though, do you still do the hat thing?
No, we haven't done the hat since we changed channels. It's a different kind of gig. But thanks for asking. Good to hear from you, Gav. Hope you have a good Halloween no matter what you do. Thank you, man.
All right, catch you later.
Take care. Bye-bye. So there is Gavin from Wickham. We are kind of staying south of the town because we are heading up into the mountains. Well, not the big mountains like Concert. We're going to Charlie Chopper's. Chopwell. We got Alex there. Hi, Alex.
How you doing, Alan? All right?
I'm all right, man. Good to hear from you.
Greetings from
Dive in. It is. The funny thing was when I used to live in Chopwell, the first thing you learned was people used to say to me, you're living in Little Moscow now. And I'm thinking, I've never seen Chopwell's Red Square, and I couldn't get my head around why people were calling it that. And then because I lived on where the river streets are up the top.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
But when you go down the hill, it's all Keir Hardy Avenue and all the old Labour people, you know.
That's right. Yeah.
Good stuff. What can we do for you anyway? What are you talking about?
Just a bit of everything, like what's going on and stuff.
Go for it.
What the last caller was saying about the masks and stuff. And you got about the essentials and stuff like that's being sold in the shops. It's just getting more bizarre by the day, I think.
Yeah, apparently clothes aren't essential. That's the latest one.
The one everyone naked now, just wearing masks, I think. But it's absolutely crazy.
It is funny. And apparently knives and forks and plates aren't essential. Things to write on isn't essential. So what? I don't get it.
That doesn't make sense, does it?
No. I mean, and if you're in a supermarket, what's the difference between you buying a tin of beans or a writing pad? You're in the supermarket anyway, you know.
Exactly, and obviously you need the utensils to eat your food with. Like, you want to put two and two together. But
unless you're naked, and then you can just lick it out the tin. I think that's where we're heading. We're heading a bit primitive.
Exactly. Yeah. But it just doesn't make any sense, does it? Like, I can't get my head around it at all. Why who decides the measures and where it comes from, and what the virus will live on, what it won't live on. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous.
Well, they're guessing. I mean, they're still just guessing. I think you got to remember. But the other thing that I don't understand is we've had all of the people that work in supermarkets working right the way through, you know, from the very beginning. They've never been on furlough for like 9 months on 80%. They've worked right the way through it. And yet the guy that works in the shop next door who might do electricals, fixing mobile phones or computers or whatever, he's been on furlough the whole time. Why can one earn and the one next door not earn when they both do essentially sitting behind the counter selling stuff? It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Well, I thought what was good was I don't know if the media covered it, but I kind of seen it on the alternative medias. But it was the hoo-ha in Liverpool with the gyms.
Yeah.
One guy came on and he was very good. I think he was a gym owner actually, and what he said was, and he made a really valid point. He said, why are you shutting the gyms down when they're only the 1.2% of the cases?
Right. There you go.
I can't remember. I'm sure he had said 30 million visits or something like that. He said, 30 million visits and only so many cases, like 200 and something.
Right. Right.
Yet he says that the hospitality industry had 35% of the cases. The restaurants had 25%, and he says, why are you shutting us down and not them? And it actually I think it got overturned. So I think Liverpool are now allowed to keep the gyms open. And obviously he made another point is, if you want to keep people healthy, why are you shutting the gyms which are keeping people healthy? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you've got to remember that they say one thing 1 minute, and then the next minute they're giving with one hand and they're taking away with the other hand. And they've done this right from the very beginning. And again, there's no consistency at all because they're making it up as they go along. And if you look at people in the north, and people are going, but in Newcastle, and I mean, no disrespect to Newcastle, it's my place of birth, for heaven's sake, but they're saying in Newcastle, this is happening, in Newcastle, that is happening. Yeah, but 90% of the people of the northeast don't live in Newcastle. They live in Durham, Sunderland, Lower Fell, Prudhoe, Wallsend, Jarrow, Blythe, Berwick, Amble, Alnwick, Middlesbrough, Darling. So why shut down all of that? Because Newcastle's a problem. Yeah.
Good point.
Crazy, man. But you see, all we can do, though, if we say at any point, I don't believe it, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, everybody criticizes you because they view you, well, you're the risk, you're the reason I've got to do this. And they put all of the bad things on your head. So you can't say that. Instead, you've got to say the government's doing everything they can. Bless them. They're trying their best. And you've got to stick to that because that's what the media tell us, because the government are forcing the media to tell them that. Otherwise, they'll withdraw their licenses. So they've actually got Britain, whether we like it or not, and whether it's for the best, it might be for the best or it might not, but they have actually got us in a hands around firmly the testicles of the country, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you can only go with the flow and hope we come out the other end with some semblance of the absolute. Just realize how much joy we had before we had a restriction. You know, we actually had it cushy until all of this BS began. That's the thing.
Well, I mean, that's it. But the problem is all these do's you're told merchants, if you like. I mean, you could dangle the truth in front of their face at this point. And do you know what it is? If the government came out and said, right, we got it wrong, it was an absolute load of rubbish, people wouldn't believe them because they're so ploughed into the brains of people that if they came out and went, right, we got it wrong, or we're hoax you, or whatever you want to call it, the people would.
Could you imagine if next year? Next year, April the 1st, they come out and they go, April Fool. You know, it was we got you that time. But you see, if you tell people a lie, and I'm not saying this is a lie, but if it was, if you tell it enough and you put it on every news channel and every newspaper, people don't have a choice but to believe it, because all of the things that they're being told not just by one voice, they're being told universally by every voice, because legally they have to. They can't. This is a national emergency, so they can't question it. Otherwise, they're shut down or arrested or taken off air or whatever. And it's a place we've never been before. Now, you see, all I would like is the truth. But whatever the truth is what I want. Now, it may well be that the truth is in this somewhere. I'm sure it is in it somewhere, but we haven't heard it all. I'd like to hear it all. And then you can, because only when you hear the whole truth can you decide what you're going to do with your life and the life of the members of your family, whether they're old or young. And we're not being told the full truth yet. That's
it. I mean, governments will never tell the truth. I mean, if they've gone down such a road for so long, they're never going to say, oh, right, we got it wrong. That's never happened in the history of probably any government. And you're not allowed to say anything that goes against what they're trying to achieve. So if you've got two, well, they wouldn't do it, actually. I mean, if you watch certain channels higher up lower down in the channel list, what you get, you wouldn't get two people. Say if you got two scientists, a government scientist and an actual scientist, you wouldn't get a decent debate because they wouldn't allow the real one. They're just giving you that one scientist for the government who's pretty much they're not scientists, are they? I mean, they're just ruled out to say whatever the puppet masters want them to say. That's all they're doing. And
or you see, I've got to give you the side there, or they've told us the truth all along, and other people who disagree with them, like you, are completely out of step, and everything you say is just because, let's face it, that's what they're saying. They're saying that anybody that questions it is ridiculous. He's one of those weird conspiracy theorists, and
definitely. I'll be in the Cranwell.
Well, there'll be people knocking on your door with dark suits saying, "Sit in this chair while we place a gag in your mouth." But,
that's it.
Who knows?
I think that'll be the next step, I think. But it's just madness, man. I mean, it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you say. You'll never get to that, like, to get put in front of these people to get them to answer certain questions. I mean, if you watch the daily briefing or whatever you call it on the channel, they pick and choose who they want, and they pick and choose which question. It's all pre-done. It's not. They go on. It's all live. It's all random. It's clearly not, is it?
No, I remember. I know this is not connected to COVID in any way. Yeah. But you know, when you see these people, whether it's a government minister, in this case, it was a member of the royal family. I was offered the chance to interview and have a chat with Prince Charles. So you think, that's canny crack. I mean, I'd be up for that. Now, this was in the early Diana days, where they were very open and prepared to sit down and give people stories and what have you. And they sent a document to me, and it said, give us a list of all the questions you're going to ask him. So I replied, and I said, well, whenever I interview anybody, I give them the same respect, which is I don't give them any question I'm going to ask them. It's spontaneous. If something comes into mind that when we're talking, if something pops into my mind that I think, oh, that'll be interesting, well, I'll ask it. Yeah. So I got a reply back saying, well, that's not acceptable. We need to know every question you're going to ask. And I said, but if I interviewed a plumber on the show, I wouldn't give him all the questions I was going to ask, because you get better answers when they're not expecting a question, whatever that is. And eventually they said, well, we will rescind, which means you're not going to talk to him if you don't give us a list of questions. And I said, well, I give Prince Charles as much respect, but no more than any other member of the community. So I'll not talk to him then. And I turned the whole thing down because it's a sham. You can't say an exclusive interview with the prince, because he knows all the questions he's going to ask. He's talked to his people. He's had his PR team go through the question with a fine tooth comb. That's, well, you know, when you came on, I didn't ask Chris to ask exactly what you were going to talk about so I could research it. You know, it's spontaneous.
What you did before.
I maybe should have done it. Would have been a better call, but there you go.
It's right, isn't it? I mean, you have to go through all this hoo-ha, don't you? I mean, you're sincere with people. I mean, you're not going to just talk about what's in his underpants drawer or something like that. Or I mean, you're going to be quite.
Well,
maybe too. Maybe
and can I just ask you about Camilla? You say, oh no, there's a week there, isn't there? Come on. Hey, anything else while you're on then?
Well, it's funny you just mentioned Prince Charles there, and I've heard Boris say this as well. I mean, I'm not sure. Talking about in plain sight and things like that. Yeah. And how some Satanists say certain things and stuff like that. I mean, Boris and Prince Charles have been talking about a 5-point plan for quite a number of months. I mean, if these numbers mean anything to anybody. Yeah. And obviously the government's 6 feet apart for 6 months. You know, 6 people.
I think lots of sixes. You're going to be careful. Got to check Charles's head, haven't we?
That's it. Well,
Hey, gonna have to move on, Alex, but thank you for coming on, man.
take care now, Alan. See you.
All the best. Bye-bye. Now, just trying to fit everybody in, but where do you stand on all of this malarkey? You'd love to hear your views. If you completely agree and you think, no, this is the best thing, we want these breaks to save the world, and we will rejoice and we will skip and we will dance through parks happily because we have seen an end to this horror that we call COVID. We would all like that. Where do you stand? What's your view on any of it? And if you want to talk about something else like the worst thing you've ever felt or what you've been covered in, we'll have some of that too. We got Brian next. He's at Gateshead. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Alan.
Evening.
You were talking about COVID there for a moment. I just want to quickly say I've got a relative who's a nurse, and she lives in Fleetwood, and she works at the Royal Victoria Hospital in Blackpool.
Right.
And believe me, there are real people in that hospital who've got COVID, and they're actually in a serious condition, you know.
I'm sure. No, I'm sure that's the case. How is she doing? I mean, has she been okay?
Yeah, she wears all the PPE stuff. I said that there's large clusters in there. You know, have you heard of a place called Withamshire, which is in, like, I think it's in South Manchester. It's a big area, Manchester.
Yes.
There's a lot of, because there's lots of blocks of flats around there. There's a lot of people, you know, who are actually from that area, actually in hospital. And you've got people from Radcliffe as well, different parts of Manchester. So it is a real virus.
No, I don't doubt that. I just think that what they're calling the real virus, because as I mentioned in the beginning, there's been no flu deaths this year. None. Normally there's 14 to 16,000 a year, but there's been no flu deaths this year because anybody that dies of flu, which is a horrible thing, and people are in, intensive care, they're being labeled as COVID. And I just think that there was probably people who died of flu this year. If there's 15, 16,000 every year, some of them will have died of flu this year. Why aren't they calling it flu? There's just a lot of questions that need answering. I've got no doubt that COVID's an issue.
Yeah, absolutely, Alan. It is scary. I mean, I wear a mask all the time. It's just because I don't, want to, we're all getting on, so I just don't want to end up, so I just wear a mask as precaution and not to get into it, because I've been reading in the papers, a lot of people have been getting smashed in, for not wearing masks. People have seen them, people wondering no masks on, they've been attacking them in different parts of the country, and it's quite worrying, what I mean? Where's your mask? Well, I don't need to wear one. And they've gotten into fist fights and stuff, so, there's a few nutters out there who are doing silly things,
on both sides, absolutely on both sides. The bottom line is, even if you don't believe, if the government, your government, the government that people voted in, if your government tells you that this is what we should do to protect your friends and your family, what harm does it do for you to wear one? And I know people will be up in arms saying, well, it's our right to do what I like. Well, not at a time of emergency. You've got to go with the flow and see where it takes you and protect yourself and use everything at your disposal to keep yourself and your family safe. That's what Europe's doing, and they're not locking down. They're taking precautions, but everything that you want to do, go on holiday anywhere in the world, you still can, except Britain.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you managing? Have you done all right, Brian?
Oh, yeah, I've wear a mask. I've got a sanitizer in my pocket. I generally do, stay away from people. But I've noticed, when you're on public transport, 'cause I haven't got a car, so I use public transport a lot.
Sure.
I see a lot of pensioners getting on the metro, right? And they're a lot older than me, and none of them are wearing masks, and they're all sitting together, and they say, "Hello, Florrie, how are you getting on?" Elsie, I haven't seen you for ages, and they're all sitting together, and I'm thinking, God, it is worrying, do you know what I mean, when you see all these pensioners out there who I see on public, and on buses as well, on public transport, they're all getting on together, they're off out for the day with the passes and stuff.
Yeah.
None of them have got masks on, but the bus drivers aren't saying anything about wearing the masks. But I've noticed that the metro are now starting to calm down a little bit now with masks.
Yeah.
I was in there last week, and they were going to phone the police on somebody because some woman was having a big argument at the barriers about, I'm exempting. They said, well, where's your exemption, this or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
It's really quite nasty. So, but I just want to make one more thing before I go, Alan, one more point.
Sure.
The election in America.
Yes.
I've got a funny feeling that Joe Biden's going to win it, right? And I know he's getting a bit now. He's 78-year-old. I think he's going to do a 2-year stint, and the rest of what he will do is, it's a 4-year, you're staying there for 4 years. I think he'll step aside, he'll allow, is it Kamala Harris,
Right.
I think he will, well, she's a black woman, obviously, so I think what they'll probably do is he'll probably get her to take over the job after being in half the term. I think he's going to stand down after 2 years. So
Wow.
put money on. That's what I think.
It is something, because if you think about it, speaking personally, I've never lived in America, so you don't know whether, from a distance, Barack Obama, to me, seemed like the most amazing president ever. And Donald Trump seems the most.
I know decisions were difficult because obviously he was getting blocked all the time by the Republicans, but
Sure.
that's what my inner feelings tell me, that Joe Biden's 70-year-old. He probably do till he's 80, do half his time and then just pack it in and put Kamala Harris, the vice president, in charge. She'll be like the first lady and everything else, and she'll be like hopefully running for. Well, I'll say she might run for a second term. So that's how I see it. So that's worth like.
I think that's a good shout. I think genuinely, I think that's worth putting some money on, because it could certainly happen. Anything else while you're on, Brian?
He's behind, isn't he? He's trailing behind a lot in the polls.
At the minute, he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So that's how it looks to me, Alan.
All right. Hey, well, thank you for your call. Lovely to hear from you, Brian.
Thank you.
That's great. Cheers, man. Bye-bye. Take care. Joe Biden to do 2 years and then allow a woman to become the first female president of the United States. I think that could well be what happens. And interesting that the Night Owls proclaim it before anybody else. Now, a little bit earlier on, we were talking about the worst thing you've ever felt and the worst thing you've ever been covered in. Okay. And we want your stories, please. We also want to know if you've got a themed room or a themed shed or a themed anything. So make sure you give us a call on 01914 488 3188. It's time now for one of our superstars, because it's Night Owls when the stars come out at night. And this time, we've been talking about what you've been covered in. What does Belinda Carlisle have to do with horse whittle? Find out.
Now, you're also connected to something that I was not aware that you were involved with at all. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
Right.
Is this a major passion of yours?
Well, yeah, I've been involved with them for about 15 years, and they do a lot of. Most of the stuff I do is anti-fur work with them, and I just did a thing with them for Premarin, which is hormone replacement therapy, which uses horse urine, which I'm very much against. So I do a lot of stuff with them when I can, and they're a lot more high profile in the States than they are in Europe, but they are a very well-respected animal group.
Yeah, it's a good cause. Do the people who use these hormones know that it's horse's whittle?
No, a lot of them don't. And would you want to put horse urine inside your body?
No, thanks. No, not at the moment.
No, when there are herbal and homeopathic alternatives to that sort of thing, I think that women should be aware of them, and a lot of times they're not. So that's what we're sort of campaigning for, is to make women aware that there's other alternatives to putting horse pee in your system.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's no wonder your horses run away.
Exactly.
If that's what's lying in wait for them.
This is the home of Alan Robson's Night Owls.
With the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
And welcome back to the show. We have Tracy, who's in Eston. After I've given you your first clue, I'm going to give you 4 clues towards a very, very famous song that you all know and that you've all sang at one time or another, usually when you're half cut. The first clue is this: beach seat that's hard to put up. A beach seat that's hard to put up. That is your first clue. And as promised, we got Tracy in Eston. Hello, Tracy.
Hi, Alan. How are you?
I'm all right, Alan. Thanks for asking. What can we do for you tonight?
Well, a couple of things. We were all a bit gutted that the live chat went down on Facebook last week.
Absolutely.
So Glenn Fitzpatrick was on, and myself have made a group of night owlers for people to talk after Night Owl's gone down off Facebook to continue the conversations.
That's good.
Pretty much just basically to do what you do, thinking of others, be there for people to listen to discuss what's been said about tonight and any of the problems that they have.
Sure.
Glenn was going to come on himself, but he said to tell you he's got Prosecco poisoning from last week.
I'm not surprised. How have you coped then, Tracy, in general?
I've been on pretty much shielding since it started. I've only been out twice since it came up, what with the disabilities and that I've got. So it's the only thing I'd like to say is nightmare having trouble is getting, shopping and stuff. But I've managed to do that. But now with these local lockdowns and stuff, people starting to panic buy again and things being limited again. So it's pretty much. It's annoying. Like, I didn't go out much to start with, but now I feel like I'm like in a little prison cell, really.
I think you are feeling exactly what the vast majority of people are, because unless you're one of those people that work in a supermarket or do a job that's untouched, like the key workers, everybody else feels that they're in that bubble, that place where I can't go out there. There's a friend I've just seen him at the window, but I can't even go across the road and have a chat with him. I can't go to my club where I'd see all my friends. I can't go to the cinema because they don't exist. Pubs aren't the same as what they were, quite simply because of the new rules that's in place. Restaurants, they're going to kick you out before 10 o'clock. Everything we've come to expect as being normal isn't anymore, and we need it back as quickly as possible.
The worst one for me, Alan, is my grandchildren. I've got 5 grandchildren. Some live in Cumbria, and I see them regularly before lockdown. Obviously, with this new lockdown thing, we're not allowed to be in other people's houses, but I've got grandchildren who live 10 doors away. And we're not allowed to go in and out of each other's houses. I couldn't go into theirs, but they could come here beforehand because it's not like disabled friendly. So, and they walk past to go to school and everything, and used to pop in and stuff like that. And you're talking of like a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old and the 12-year-old understands, but not really the younger ones. So the parents my daughter's having to go the back way around so they do not bring the children across the front door, so to stop them from calling in, because he used to just run straight in to see us before school and after school.
And also, when it comes to bands, you might, yes, you can still talk to them on the telephone. It doesn't work. It's not the same as it could.
We do video calls, we do video calls nearly enough every other night, but because I think what it is with the younger, especially the younger one, the 4-year-old, because she's only up the road and her daily routine was to call in, and obviously she can't do that now. And she's asking Nana, why can't we come and see you? We come past and we're not allowed. Mammy says we're not allowed. But my daughter, she's a key worker in James Cook, so she's doing like night shifts and stuff over there, and said it's getting quite bad again over there. And I've also heard that they're cancelling some of the surgeries as well in James Cook.
Yes, they are. In a lot of places, and right from the very beginning, from pretty much the second week of all of this, if we go way back in March when it just started to kick in, ever since then, doctor surgeries have been almost impossible places to go because I'll talk to you over the phone. I'll do a video call. It's anything but have to see you. And we're human beings. We respond better to touch. I'm a cuddler. I cannot help it. A handshaker and a cuddler. And you feel almost like you're toxic because you can't shake somebody's hand or cuddle them. You know, it's.
You can't tell a 4-year-old like you can't cuddle Nana, you're not allowed, and especially if you're at the shop and you see him or anything like that. The other thing, I was waiting for surgery. Excuse me. I've been waiting for it for nearly 2 years, and I'm having it done up at Sunderland. Right. And I was due to have it done at the beginning of the year, about March time. I was gone through the pre-op and everything, and just waiting for it. And then obviously COVID come in and put that, knocked that out the way. And I've just got it all up and running again. I was due to have surgery on the 31st of October, and it got changed to the 9th of November, and now they've cancelled it again, so it's looking January. Then again, it's get cancelled again. But I feel sorry for all these other patients, like the ones with cancer and all these serious illnesses and stuff that are not just at the hospital, and they're not getting their operations and stuff, that they're scared to go to the hospital and in case they catch this. And that was one of my concerns as well with the other disabilities I have. That was one of my concerns of going in to the hospital, getting tested 2 days before, and then obviously shielding and that. But if you go in the hospital, you can't guarantee the other people who are in the same ward have done the same thing. I mean, we have there's a group that we talked to about surgeries that we're having, and apparently there's a lady in there last week who's supposed to shield straight after having a test and stuff, the COVID test, and she didn't do it, and she didn't think there was any point. And obviously some people are kicking off what about other people? You're supposed to do this and do that. But I mean, she told the surgeons that she'd stuck to it, and then but when she's talking to the other patients that I didn't do it, it was just I didn't see the point. I still done what I wanted to do, and and it's scaring people from having surgery, going in to have the surgery, let alone them being cancelled.
Mind you, in fairness, out of all of the days of the year for your surgery to be put down, I really wouldn't want to be operated on Halloween. You said it was the 31st of October.
I had my leg amputated on Valentine's Day in 2003.
Oh my goodness.
And I was awake while I took it off. So
No.
Oh yeah, it was. It was hilarious.
I'm sorry to have to ask, because it's a horrible thing to happen to anybody, but you were awake when they were physically sewing through your leg.
Yeah. I was talking to the anaesthetist at the top and the nurses and that. They asked me what music I wanted to listen to, and I had Queen playing on in the background. And the only thing I can't stand is the sound of, I can watch all the operations and things on telly and stuff, but I can't stand the sound of them cutting bones, obviously, or people cutting wood, because it sounds a bit similar. And when doing the surgery, Alan, we used to have some Staffordshire Bull Terriers at the time, and I asked if I could take it home for a doggy bag. But I got laughed at the whole stage to I donated my leg to science because of the rare bone disorder I have. So
right, oh my goodness.
So it doesn't get severe as what mine did. I mean, it's supposed to hit and skip generations, so it hit my daughters and my grandchildren. So I donated it to science for them to do tests on it, hopefully for my grandchildren. They might find a cure for it, but at the minute there isn't one.
So I'm presuming then you've got a false leg?
No. I did have one, but my other leg has to come off above the knee due to the same disability, the same bone disorder. But why I can stand up at the minute and transfer, I'm not giving them it, because I've got my little bit of independence then, you see.
Gotcha.
Whereas the other leg, I had operations on it and had fused my ankle and what have you. And I have too much calcium in my bones where some people don't have enough.
Right.
I have far too much, and if we chip or crack a bone, the calcium seeps out and causes a bony growth, and it doesn't stop growing. You just either restrict your joints or to go as far as the skin will let it, and then you have to have surgery.
But isn't that the same? If that is a problem that your body has, is it not the same for your hands and your arms and shoulders and such?
Yeah, it depends. Like I say, if we knock or chip a bone at any time, the extra calcium obviously can seep out. So basically, you get basically wrapped up in cotton wool when we were younger. But when my kids were younger, you can't wrap kids up in cotton wool. I didn't allow it. I just let them get on with it. If they broke a leg, they broke a leg, or if they were doing PE, let them do PE and stuff like that. I wasn't allowed to do it. So you can't stop kids from doing it. There's no cure for it. The people say, "Well, can you not stop not drink milk and stuff like that?" It doesn't work that way. So
I just think talk about courage, because I think that there's certain operations in certain parts of the body that we sometimes have to lose for one reason or another. But knowing we take walking for granted in every shape or form, and for you to take it on the chin the way you did and deal with it with humor, man.
I was told in September that I was going to lose my leg in the 2002, and I didn't tell my daughters and my partner at the time. I didn't tell them that it was going to happen. I said I didn't want to have it done before Christmas. I didn't want to ruin the kids' Christmases because they were only young at the time.
Right.
So I got the date for Valentine's Day, and I didn't tell them till I think it was a week before. Maybe joke about it that I've got a new name. I'm going to be called Wonky Donkey or Eileen, you know. But they didn't have a laughing joke about it. But yeah, it's I was in control when I was awake, having the leg took off, because if I wasn't, they could have took it off above my knee, and that would have made it more harder for me to get it out, really.
Sure. I know, but on saying that, I cannot imagine because all I can go by is the worst that I've had from an operational point of view, and I could not imagine lying there and listening to someone sewing my leg off. And yet, what were you doing at that point? You were chatting? I mean,
talking to the anaesthetist, talking to the nurse at the side of me, and talking to the surgeon while he's chopping away.
Did you literally see? Did you see it come off?
No, they put like a blue screen up, you know, like the blue sheet and the sterile sheet across it, like pinned up a bit, like when you're having a baby, so you can't really see.
Right.
But you feel the tugging, the pulling, and obviously the sound, the sound of the start sounds horrible. Everyone will be cringing. But it didn't. I felt I was more in control doing it that way. I had an epidural, obviously, so you couldn't feel it, but it was something that I'd do again. I'd do it again if I have to. When I have to have the right leg took off, I'd do exactly the same again. I'd go through being awake to do it, but I understand where you come from. Like, I mean, we need our legs to walk, but I can see I've got the side of like being able to walk, and then now getting told from having the operation, I was told I'd be up and walking within 6 to 8 weeks, aided, of course. I had complications, and I was in for 16 weeks, blood transfusion and everything.
Yeah.
And then I got told that put into a little room in the general at the time, just before the general closed, Middlesbrough General.
Yeah.
Put in a little room and told I'd never walk again, get used to the wheelchair because you won't be out of it. Now you're stuck in it for the rest of your life. That was by one consultant, and I just sat there in the room, and the nurse that was in there knew me for years. She was crying. I just thought about it for a minute and just got it walked out. I said, I can't put my life on hold. I've got kids to think about.
Yeah, you got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Right, I tell you, you're an absolute example to all of us, because we talk about how terrible it is. I've been stuck in a box for however many weeks. Look at the stuff that you've sailed through, a barrier that a lot of people would never be able to get past.
There's loads of people out there west of me. I mean, I couldn't be without my sight. That's one thing I'd dread to be without. But I mean, like you say, you could learn to walk and that. But I mean, I'm still alive, still kicking with one leg, but in a wheelchair, and you know, it didn't stop me from doing a lot of things. So I still get about have a daft laugh, but I'll get off now, and everybody else back on.
Well, I think you're a tonic, Tracy. Thank you so much for that, and thanks for talking about it, because a lot of people wouldn't. But I thank you for doing that. Thanks for coming on. Talk to you again.
Okay, thanks a lot, Alan.
Take care, love. Bye-bye. What have you had to live without then? Look at what she's had to live without, and get a bit of news that literally rocks your world. And to her credit, It's not stopping me. Let's do it. Let's crack on. Chatting to the person who's cutting your leg off. Only on night owls. Now, stories of ghosts and myths and all of that, it's our cup of tea. And as we've mentioned, next Saturday, not Sunday, we're on Sunday on Greatest Hits, but on Saturday, we're doing an on-screen event, a live stream on YouTube called Alan Robson's Halloween 2020. We've got to do things differently. You know that. So we've got a few surprises. I'm going to be out and about telling some tales. We're going to be talking to you. So save your best ghost stories for us next week. If you've got any scary stuff to tell us, we want all of that. It's your show always. And next week, we got something brand new. We got a few things, a few classic tales to share with you. And of course, it coincides with the release of Grisly Tales of Northumbria. So get ready for that if you fancy adding that to your collection. So there's a lot of stuff kicking next Saturday. Tell you all about it. So don't have any worries about that. And perfect to set that up, we got contacted by Darren Ritson, who is re-releasing a classic book of his all about the poltergeist of South Shields. Let's talk to the man. Hi, Darren.
Hello there, Alan. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. Thank you very much for coming on. Tell me everything about... well, I tell you what, I've just been informed, and I apologize for this. You're going to tell us a brief example of the story of the South Shields poltergeist. When was it last out?
Well, the book was last released in around 2009. That would have been the second edition paperback. It was originally published in hardback in 2008.
Right.
And since, obviously, those years have went by, there's been a few developments, i.e. in relation to reviews and write-ups and how it's become sort of notorious. Is that the right word? It's become like well-known and things like that.
Absolutely.
So, not so long ago, the publisher had asked us, they said, would you like to update the book? And have you got anything you'd like to update it with? And I thought, well, that's a great idea, because it's actually coming up to 15 years since the event occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what I've put in the new book is the review, which was carried out by the Society for Psychical Research, which was into the case, by a gentleman called Alan Moyer.
Right.
He's the head of the spontaneous cases for the SPR.
Right.
And he's provided a preface for the book as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got to take a little break, Darren. So I wanted to get you on to kind of tease everybody, because we're going to hear the very roots of the story and the gist of what happened. So we'll come back to you for that. But just beforehand, and this is quite appropriate with Darren's book, so hang on in there, Daz. Chris Rea's Road to Hell, perfect when we're talking about poltergeists. But we had a chat with Chris as well. Have a listen to this.
I know how passionate you are about, not just about the North, but about the things in your life that you hold dear, and they're very specific, and you're not a one who takes fools gladly. I've learned that. My first interview with you was a nightmare years ago. I'll tell you, it was a bloody nightmare.
I've just had one of them.
You've had another one.
Some bugger from Stoke.
Right.
He asked me who wrote my songs.
Gonna see, should I hit him with that guitar? Poof.
Yeah, if I'd been in the same room, I would have.
Cheeky beggar. But anyway, I know how passionate you are. I know how much you love the art of what you do too. I would have thought you'd look over your shoulder and be hugely proud of what you've achieved, because, to be honest, if you looked at, here's a young lad from Teesside, and let's face it, Teesside's not the home of rock and roll. It's not the Nashville of the North, is it? And yet you've achieved all of these amazing things, the movies, all the stuff you've done. It's been incredible.
You know, trying to sing a song about the transporter is not as it's not as globally poetic as I took a ride past the New Jersey Turnpike. You know what I mean?
I get it. I get it absolutely.
0191 488 3188.
This is Night Owls.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Now, just been hearing from a lot of night owls about a lot of things. Big thanks to Craig in Lowfell. Jane, Lizzie as well. Thank you very much. I am okay. Thank you for asking. Kerry Palmer as well, looking great. And Dee Richardson said, Kerry rather, was talking about Whitby, saying that she took some photographs. I have some photographs taken. And there was a black figure of a woman that was there but not there, if you know what I mean. And also Dee Richardson was saying that she's heard that the Marsden Grotto was haunted. Now we're going to be getting Darren's story in a second, but you will remember we did a live show from the Marsden Grotto, and while I was down there, they've got a haunted chalice behind the bar. So I said, let me take the chalice off the bar, because the last person to drink from the chalice was a smuggler who was in the bar when the tallyman, the customs men, came in. He tried to run for it, and he got shot dead, and he was holding the chalice in his hand. So the chalice became known as the Cursed Chalice. So I washed it out, spiders and stuff in there. I washed it out, filled it up with some booze, took a swig of it to test the curse. Now, a couple of days later, there was a dead chicken nailed to the outside door of one of the bars. Then 3 days after that, the wine cellar that was full of barrels flooded. The barrels all burst and the bottles all popped. And it's impossible for that to happen because it's lock and key, and the landlord had the key around his neck. And finally, when the landlord and the landlady were in bed one night, somebody threw themselves off the top of the cliff, landed on the roof of their property, and literally came through the roof and was hanging above their beds. And they sold up and shipped out immediately after that. All of those things may well have been incredibly coincidental. Or was it? Well, you never know. And we're not too far from the Marsden Grotto. You go up just a little bit higher and you get the story of the poltergeist of South Shields, the book that's just been re-released by Darren Ritson. Darren, what was the story in the first place? Give us a gist.
Right. Well, I was sitting at work one day and a lady come up to me who was a friend of the family. Right. And she said, I think my friend's daughter's got a ghost. So I said, right, that's interesting. Could I get in touch with that and maybe find out a little bit about it? So contact details were swapped, emails were sent, and this lady, who turned out to be Marianne's mother, Marianne was a lady who lived in the house, you see.
Yep.
She told me what had been going on the few previous months. And after a while, I was asking her a question. She said, well, look, you'd better get in touch with Marianne. Marianne, of course, is a pseudonym we give the lady because she didn't want to be identified.
Right.
So anyway, we contacted Marianne, and there was a few telephone calls and a bit of, good conversation, giving us a lowdown of what had been going on.
Well, what had been going on? Tell us.
Well, there had been things moving around the house, finding things in strange places, like tins in the bath and doors opening and closing on their own and things. Quite sinisterly, there was a rocking horse found hanging from the loft hatch by its reins. In the morning, they'd get up and the doors would be open, like the back doors and front doors and things like that. And they started getting a little bit frustrated and a little bit worried about it, So eventually, we were talking to them about it. That basically says, look, well, keep a note of what's going on, make a diary, and then we'll see how it progresses and see what happens. And it was about a month or so after I got a call saying, look, you really need to come over because it's getting out of hand. Other things were happening. Ornaments were being moved around. Furniture was being overturned. Things like that.
Right. And
so eventually we went in, and I took a colleague with me, Mike Hallowell, who is a South Tyneside resident.
Yep.
And on the first day we went in, we interviewed the family and found out what had been going on again. And obviously we had, had a cup of tea and a bit of a general chat to get to know the family and that. And we stayed for about 4 or 5 hours on that first day. And it was only towards the end of the day where we actually experienced some of the activity for ourselves. We thought it might have been too good to be true. So a lot of times you turn up at these places,
nothing happens. Yep.
People say they've got a good, and then nothing happens, and that's happened quite a lot.
Sure.
So we were like thinking, well, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So we went upstairs, and we were in the youngster's bedroom where seemingly a lot of the activity was occurring. And whilst we were talking, we just started getting bombarded with children's toys. There was a little yellow toy nut which flung across the room with such speed and force. It bounced off a wall and it hit Marianne on the backside, and she winced and jumped in pain. And we were like, goodness me, what on earth was that? Just at that precise moment, a child's toy, which I think was a little toy goal, was sitting on the bench. It just slid off the bench and it landed in the waste paper basket, making a bit of a din. So we were obviously quite happy, but we had to express our feelings to the family. We had to say, look, from our perspective, you've got to understand that this is good stuff.
It's a hard one to get across when you're being scared witless in your own home, mind.
Well, it is. So we explained that to them. We said, look, from your perspective, you're terrified. We understand that. But from our perspective, we can actually say now, at least we know that there is something going on. It's like verification for us. So the rest of the day we were thinking, could they have organised this? Could they have staged it? And there was no possible way, because where they were situated in the room, the nut came from behind us, and it was, and it was just so hard to be able to turn around and say they rigged that up. And it just went on from that point, and it progressively got worse over the months. And it turned out to be one heck of a case, if I've got to be honest.
Did you ever get around to finding out who it was or what it was that was doing it?
Well, we think in poltergeist hauntings, there's a number of theories in relation to what they might be. One of the theories is that there's a focus of the poltergeist, and it could be through the focus that the poltergeist's working, or perhaps there's something going on within the focus, producing what they call RSPK, recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis. We pretty much determined that the focus in that particular house was the guy who the pseudonym we gave him was Mark. We think that it was coming from him. Obviously, if it's a long story and it's hard to go into over this call, obviously, but over the space of time, little things came to light and everything pointed at him. Normally, with a stereotypical poltergeist, there's a focus, and it's normally a young girl, and it's normally she's in the pubescent sort of time of her life. She's just on the change.
Strong life force, right?
Yeah, this was just like an exception to the rule, because there wasn't a young child at that age. There was a young child in the house, but he was only 3 at the time. So basically, we think that the poltergeist kind of came from him. But there's a weird little twist to it. What seemingly happened, it's not 100% certain, obviously, by all means, but we seem to think that as the poltergeist sort of progressed throughout the months, kind of developed its own consciousness and its own sort of sentience, if you know what I mean. And somehow it seemed to detach itself from its host, and it had this life of its own. As crazy as that sounds, that's from what we observed during the course of the investigation. That's what seemed to have happened, which was actually incredible in itself.
So it was actually it was responding to you, and you were responding to what it did back to you.
Yes, it was very responsive. It sort of answered questions for when we were like, there's a few incidences with the child's message board. It was like an Etch-a-Sketch type doodle board, which the youngsters draw pictures on and things. There was one time Marianne was in the house, and they were up to that sort of up to here with it. You know, they were fed up, and they basically turned around and said, "Look, we're going to try and ask it to stop." And so they walked up into the rooms, saying, "Please, could you leave her alone and stop it," and things like that. And then they opened up the cupboard door. That they pulled out this message board, and there was a message written on it. And from that point on, they started trying communicating with this thing. So
well, I know that the whole book, it's a sizable book, and people want to try and get their hands on it. Where do they get it from then, Darren?
Well, the best place I would suggest is Amazon. That's where most people shop now online, don't they?
Sure.
It will be available on Waterstones, in good bookshops and things like that. But most people have got Amazon accounts now, so they should be able to access it that way.
Is it out now?
Yes, it was released on Friday gone. So it's available to get now. It's obviously there's been almost 400 pages, and it's twists and turns along the way. And we looked at everything. We looked at fraud. We looked to see if we were having the wool pulled over our eyes.
Sure.
And throughout the whole entire case, we never actually caught anybody faking anything, and we've seen plenty of stuff which verified that it wasn't being faked. Yeah.
Brilliant. Darren, thank you very much, and good luck with it second time around. Hope you do well with it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much, Alan. Cheers.
You're welcome, mate. All the best. Bye-bye. So there, we tend to do a lot of things on Night Owls, and quite often we'll do a 4-hour investigation. Remember, we went and exorcised a property in Sunderland that's you could hear on robsonsworld.com if you want to have a listen. There's an awful lot of stuff that we've done along those lines. But in this case, it's a long investigation of one place. And that's the kind of thing that obviously in a 4-hour show, it's impossible to do because you've got to go back time again. And that's what Darren's done. So if you want to check out that book, you know where to get it now. Let's move on. This time up that big bank to Ali, who's in Wickham. Hi, Ali.
I am, yes.
Hello, Darren. What can we do?
Down to this COVID.
Mm-hmm.
What the last caller was talking about.
Yes.
When my son was a baby boy, we had to strip his bedroom out.
Right. Why? What happened?
Every time I put him in his bedroom, he screamed and screamed and screamed.
Right.
He was... How old were you? 5 months old.
5 months, right.
Boy. And we had to strip his bedroom to put him back in.
So what do you think it was?
Oh my God. I don't know. But to strip his bedroom out.
Right, but what happened to you to make you think it was ghostly then?
It was a baby.
Right.
It was a baby.
Yeah, I get that. 5 months.
We had to strip the
yeah, but hang on. You've said you had to strip the room 3 times, but you haven't given me a reason why. That could have just been an outbreak of diarrhea or projectile vomiting. I mean, what was it that was happening in there that made you think it was ghostly?
He was screaming. I put his cot in, his little cot in, and we had to burn the paint off.
Right. But the bottom line was the Ben was just screaming, because I thought that's what babies did anyway, don't they? What made it more than that, though, Ali?
It was unreal. Well, it was unreal. We had to strip the paint off and everything to get him in his cot to get him back in the bedroom.
So once you'd stripped him out and you'd taken the paint off the wall, everything was normal again?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And you think something came because he was young and a new life?
No, he used to say, we'll put him in bed in his cot.
Yeah.
Mom, Mummy, 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 mummy. The faces were coming out the room, out the walls.
Faces coming out the walls. Wow.
Yeah.
Faces of what? What kind of faces then?
Just faces coming out the wall, and we had to strip the paint off everything.
Right. Okay. Hey, well, Ali, thank you very much. Anything else you want to talk about while you're still on?
No, it's true though.
Right. Okay. Well, Ali, thank you very much. I think you'd find she had to strip everything out, but once she did, the faces disappeared and life was sweet again. Scary things that happen to people, and you don't expect them. They come out of the blue, literally. Ricky's there in Newcastle. Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. What can we do for you tonight?
I just wanted to touch on the impact that the coronavirus is having on the coaching industry, as well as many other businesses.
Now, Ricky, if you're the Ricky that I think you are, you do all kinds of driving jobs, the limousines to buses and stuff. Is this correct still?
Yeah. Now, since 2018, it's been just coaches.
Right. So, I mean, how has it been? Because you're a people business, and people businesses seem to have literally just stopped pretty much.
Well, yeah, I mean, since we started to be impacted by coronavirus around about January, February time, because we do a lot of Chinese incoming tourism.
Right.
So we were kind of like one of the first affected by it. And then
how did you cope though? I mean, once it started for the rest of us, it just seemed to become a tidal wave, and then everybody got stopped. You were feeling it first. I mean, did it literally stop you dead, or did it just become a dribble? How did it work?
It kind of started to phase off, but we kind of thought, it's just one of those things. We'll just go into other lines of work, and other contracts will keep us going. Right. But then, as soon as the lockdown was announced on the Friday, back in March, I think it was. That was basically like to send a tap off, and there was nothing whatsoever. My full business just came to a standstill. And again, nobody knew how long it was going to last. It could have been a month, 3 months, just a few weeks even. I don't quite expected how bad it was going to get. But then we used to watch the coronavirus updates every day, and there were more support for businesses, So again, we felt hopeful that, we'll get through this.
Yep.
And then again, the tap didn't even start to trickle. The coach industry has been excluded from leisure, hospitality, and tourism. So we don't fall under any category whatsoever that qualifies for any form of support, apart from to the bounce back loans and the CBILS loans.
Yeah.
Again, we're a business that would normally now be turning over anything between £90,000 to £100,000 a month. We should currently be employing 15 to 20 staff. Currently now only got 2 staff. We're losing around about £90,000 to £100,000 a month. And access to a bounce back loan for £50,000 was a drop in the ocean. Had no grants, which a lot smaller businesses have qualified for.
Yeah.
We've literally got nothing. We've fallen through the cracks every single time. But the main issue now is, each coach, roughly on average, costs around about £250,000 each. I personally have 9 of them. And again, we have to, and near enough the entire industry has to rely on some form of finance to fund these assets. But
I mean, just on a personal thing, Rick, because I've been lucky enough to meet you, and you're a solid lad, doing your best to build up a business, and I've got absolute respect for you. How do you live on a day-to-day when your assets, worth a fortune, are just gathering dust because you cannot use them? How do you fund yourself?
We've only got this far because the finance companies initially offered some form of support,
right,
for payment holidays, but that accrued interest. I think on average, each coach to date cost me around about anything between £5,000 to £10,000 in interest, which is going to get added to the remainder of the term. It's going to make, even if we're returning on capacity, even hard. Yeah. But every single coach that is on finance with near enough every operator, we've all got personal guarantees, which means if my company was to collapse tomorrow, then that means any shortfall of the company, which is going to be roughly around about £1 million, they're going to
pay.
And at which point we lose our income, livelihood, houses, and we end up being bankrupt. So any other business, we can't just start another business, we'll be on the bankruptcy register. We're hoping that's not going to happen. We've got sufficient funds to try and drag ourselves into March 2021. But at that point, we won't even have enough, possibly not enough funds to survive the increase in coach payments and finance payments. So we've constantly been asking for support from the government. We've been constantly knocked back on every single time. All I've had is, apart from the furlough scheme, is a £5,000 grant from the local authority. That was on a discretionary grant because we didn't qualify for anything else.
Wow.
So all I'm asking the government for is, if they won't support us financially, then please try and protect us financially. At least try and do something so that protects us from these personal guarantees, which means that if we do come to a total loss situation, the government can step in and help broker arrangements between us and the finance companies to try and stop us being made bankrupt and losing our homes.
And personally, you say that you've fallen through the cracks at every level. I just can't see them coming out and saying, "Oh, I tell you what, we've missed the transport industry or the private transport industry. Let's pile in and help them." I can't see it. I hope it happens. I would love to think so. You mentioned that you had about 15 people working for you. They weren't able to be furloughed and get paid 80% or whatever the government promised back in the day.
Well, again, some of our drivers, they were worried about what was to come. So a lot of the drivers that we had have gone into other lines of work. On that basis, we had to free them from the furlough scheme. Other drivers were part-time drivers. Other drivers were drivers that were due to start. Our focus was 3 coaches before the start of this, thinking that gearing up for a busier season. 3 of the coaches that I purchased late last year and early this year haven't even seen a bum on the seat. They haven't even left the yard. But I'm still having to pay for them, still having to insure them, still having to tax them, still having to maintain them. We still have to pay for overhead. And it's just, like the amount of money that we've lost. I think we've accrued a debt through no fault of our own of around about £355,000. And that's got to be paid back over the next 3 to 5 years. And again, we've tried all avenues of work, and the amount of money that we've lost to date over the last 9 months is a silly amount of money. And invoices that are physically raised and taken in since February is £3,600.
No, it sounds absolutely horrific. And because you're a methodical person, you want certainty at any level you can get, and there's no certainty at all for you. It looks like a bottomless pit until we get the all clear to get out and start doing stuff again. I mean, the entire entertainment industry's gone to the wall, as you know, because nobody can appear in front of anybody as it stands. But nobody has mentioned nor thought about the private coaching sector. We know the taxis can still do their thing, but obviously with an individual bubble, family bubble in the back of the car, not coaching where you've got 70 or 100 people to look after, because that's not allowed, and I can't see that changing anytime soon. So everybody seems to be talking about March. What's right have we got to even think, by March it'll be all clear? Because at one time it was going to be, when the hot weather comes, that'll see the end of it. And I mean, we're far past that now, aren't we?
I think it's just the fact that we all have to have some form of hope towards something.
Right.
Again, you touched on obviously obviously lack of work. There was work there, obviously, unfortunately, with the sad collapse of shearings and national holidays, which were based in the northeast. In the middle of lockdown, we set up a brand, so we started doing our own day trips and holidays.
Right.
And again, as soon as the lockdown restrictions were lifted, people started to travel, bookings were coming in thick and fast. We weren't able to sustain the full fleet, but it was at least meeting general day-to-day overheads, such as wages. But now, government's introduced the level 1, 2, and 3 system.
Yeah.
Again, that's fallen off, and that's just completely fallen off. And I think to date, I've issued around about £17,000 in refunds, purely because people are now scared to travel because we've got level 1, level 2, level 2 can't get a level 3, level 3 can't get a level 2.
That's
It's that much uncertainty. So although we've never been told that we cannot travel, we can travel because we have reduced seating in our coaches. We can now hold 37 people on a coach whilst still adhering to social distancing in a safe manner. We've been
give the people how to get in touch with you. Where do they look, Rick?
Now, we've got 2 companies. We've got Group 10 Executive Coaches Limited, which is that's for general private hires.
Right.
We've also got the new brand, which is coach2holidays.com Limited.
Right. Rick, we must move on, but hey, I wish you all the very best, mate. I'm so sorry to hear. And I do hope the government makes a change and starts to be inclusive for your industry, because it certainly needs it. Good luck to you, Ricky. Thank you, man.
Thanks a lot. Good night.
All right, bye-bye. What a damn shame. Piece of music, but first, our conversation with Madonna about, well, what else? Sexuality.
Everyone's saying what I'm doing is wrong and bad, and I'm saying, no, there's nothing wrong with what I say and what I do, and I don't think that it's so unusual, the ideas that I present. What's unusual is that I talk about it. I mean, everyone's sexuality is a big part of their life. You can't deny it. And some people are in touch with it, and some people aren't. Some people are afraid of it, and some people aren't. But it's what makes everybody who they are. I mean, it's what attracts you to the people you're attracted to. It's what creates life. So it's very important. I like to educate people. Not in a really serious, heavy-handed way, believe me. I mean, I'm not Dr. Ruth. But just that being in touch with your sexuality and your sensuality is a good thing and not something to be ashamed of, that you can have fun.
Night Owls with Alan Robson.
You never know who's going to call next.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Right, time for your second clue as well that could win you one of our Night Owl mugs. And if you fancy giving it a go, all you got to do is identify a greatest hit from 4 words, 5 words, in fact, for this particular one. The first of 4 clues, wait till you get all 4 clues before you have a guess at it. The first clue is beach seat that's hard to put up. What kind of seat do you try and put up on a beach that's hard to do, hard to set up, hard to put back down again? What do you call them? That's your first clue. Second clue is this: a high-speed plane named after an elephant. Okay, a high-speed plane named after an elephant. Get your thinking caps on. 2 clues down, 2 more clues to come. And we've just had Craig saying, get the flashing blade back on TV again. Well, I'm open for any job would do at the moment. And Ross has said he bets Madonna would be really interesting, and wouldn't she have some stories to tell? And says, I would love to get her in her thighs. No, not in her thighs. In her thoughts, he said. In her thoughts. I think he probably meant thighs. Anyway, let's move on. Joyce from Gateshead's next. Hi, Joyce.
Hello, Alan. It's lovely to hear you.
Bless you.
I've got a dilemma, but before that, the thing I don't like the feel of is testicles. They're a bit slippery. Not that I've felt any.
They're a bit slippery, you say?
Squidgy.
Oh, squidgy. No, fair comment. They are squidgy.
I can't even look at a kiwi fruit because the reminders of it. Like, my dilemma, I wonder if any of the night owls have had this problem. It's with Virgin Media. Right?
What's the problem with it?
Well, I've had broadband. I had broadband with them for 13, 14 years. And at the beginning of September, I phoned them up and said I wanted to leave because I could get it cheaper. It was £50 a month. So they took the details and the account number and all that, and I waited till the connection had gone, and then I cancelled the direct debit.
Right.
A couple of weeks later, I got a letter and a bill saying I owed them £112.50 because I'd missed a payment. Well, I mean, I'd left by then, but actually I paid it, and I thought, well, that would be it. But no.
Right.
So they've been bombarding us with letters saying I haven't left. I've wrote to them. You couldn't phone them, so I phoned the head office, and they were quite awful about it. And when I tried to phone them back, they had blocked me calls. So I wrote to the somewhere called the CIAS in Fleet Street. They deal with Virgin's complaints. I wrote to them. I still haven't had any reply. And on Friday, I got another bill for £48, which I'm not going to pay because I've been with somebody else since the beginning of September. I can't get, and I've said to them in the letters, all I want is for you to acknowledge that I've left, but they won't. They seem to, you know.
Have you tried going? I mean, do Virgin have shops anywhere?
No, they're all closed. They're all closed down. I phoned the Metro Centre in Eldon Square, but they're shut with the virus thing. So I don't deal with Virgin personally, but night owl, thousands of the night owls will. Yeah. Night owls, if you've been in a situation like this where you've left because you can switch, I mean, you're legally allowed. Had you signed a contract with them for like a long period of time? 14 years ago, I signed the contract for 18 months, the 18-month contract. Yes. But I've been with them ever since, and I've paid direct debit on this for 13 years, no problem. But it's only £15 a month. That's £35 a month cheaper.
No, I hear that. But when you left, were you in the middle of the 18-month contract?
Oh, no, that was 14 years ago.
No, I know you signed that up, and you just have never left since then, because it might be that what you've done is, when you said, I found somebody that's cheaper, and you say, I'm going to leave now, maybe they've got you on a renewable 18-month contract. So as long as you keep taking it.
Right. No, nothing like that.
No?
No. And I didn't say I was home with somebody else. I just said I wanted to leave. And I waited till everything was the internet connection, and then I signed up with someone else.
So it has stopped, though. You're not getting Virgin at all at the moment.
Oh, no, I'm not getting Virgin at all. I thought they would come and collect the router, whatever you call it. So I disconnected that myself, waiting for them to come to get it, because I thought that was the normal procedure. I mean, I've never left them before,
No, surely. But you see, to me, if you plugged your router in, you might find that Virgin are still on the other end because they're keeping it going so they can charge you. If you haven't left the official way, whatever the hell that is, maybe they're still charging you.
I did everything I was supposed to do. The woman on the other end of the phone took the account number and said, right, and she said, she said something like, don't stop the direct debit till you've got no internet connection. And so I did. I haven't got any internet connection.
Right. Okay. Well, what I would suggest you do in the short term is go to the Citizens Advice Bureau, because they've got solicitors that you can use free.
Right.
You don't want to spend any more money on this. You've already spent far too much by the sound of things. If you ask their solicitor what to do, there's also Ofcom, which is complaints about anything to do with the communications industry. OFCOM, if you look that up on your 15 quid a month internet, if you look that up, they'll give you an address and a telephone number. You can make an official complaint against anybody who's in the communications industry. Ofcom, OFCOM.
They just don't want you to leave. That's the trouble.
Yep.
And I can't understand it. All this hassle, and I've been a good customer for 14 years, and they just not let us go. I wish they would F off. I'm frustrated because you can't get through to anybody.
No, and because the shops are closed and people are working from home, but you cannot reach them when they're working from home, so they're safe from your bail.
Virgin who listen, and they might ring in and say what to do next. I mean, I'm not going to pay the £48. I haven't been with them since the beginning of September.
Right. Okay, well, if anybody from Virgin is listening, or if you belong to any of the other telecommunications companies, because there's plenty out there and they're all vying for business, how do you leave Virgin properly so that they stop bombarding you with mail? I'm fairly sure they're all desperate for whatever money they can make at the minute, because everybody else is crying out for any kind of cash.
I wrote in the letter, I'm not using your service, so why should I have to pay for anything I'm not using?
Right. Well, they're bombarding you so that you do what you did initially, which is, well, I'll pay this bill and hope that's the end of it. Don't pay anything else in the short term, but certainly contact Ofcom in the morning. Okay, they'll guide you step by step on what you've got to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's terrible. I've had sleepless nights over it.
No, I bet you have. Well, good luck to you, Joyce. If we get anybody else ringing in who's got any advice for you, just keep listening. Okay.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Alan. You take care. Bye-bye. What a shame. Now, not particularly blaming Virgin. They're not there. They're not at work at the moment. So they just want everything to keep ticking over until presumably everybody gets back to normal. Not good enough for a big company that's making that kind of money. Tracy's just sent this message in. I called to stop them from starting up a new contract as the package was £38 a month. Then on the 6th of November, it was going up to £68 a month. So I was on the phone for over an hour. I told them I was leaving, and they told me they could do a deal for the exact same package for £34 a month. So, in other words, you can negotiate a deal, but that's still not the 15 quid that Joyce is paying. So there are deals out there to be had. I hate all of that. I was once in a very nasty conversation with somebody from a telecommunications company who told me off and said, I make 10 times the money that you make, so don't think you can intimidate me. And all I wanted to do was, like Joyce, look, I'm not trying to intimidate you. I just want to leave. I found a better deal elsewhere. Well, you can't, I was told. Well, I did. But anyway, let's hope Joyce does too. Somebody that's been on the show a lot over the years is Phil from South Shields. And yet, I'm told that there's an incredible story on the backside of this. Hi, Phil.
Hi, Alan. How are you?
It's good to hear from you, but a strange subject matter. We're traditionally used to hearing you tell your version and your side of 1,000 medical things. This isn't. What exactly have you called for, Phil?
Yeah. 2 quick things.
Okay.
I wish Rick all the best with his business.
Absolutely.
Without it being a flight of imagination, if we all get into harness and start thinking about the Hadrian Festival in 18 months' time, because it'll be 1900 years since the Emperor sailed round the corner of Shields, and he did in July of 122 AD and up the Tyne.
Yep.
I mean, if the Yorkshire folk can do all things bicycle, well, then we can grab that as we go into a very dark economic time and say, okay, it's an international heritage centre. Come and visit the Northeast, Durham and Northumberland, and all things Roman. And we should be doing that. I've tried to get through to Mr. Walker at the Northeast Chamber of Commerce. If we don't grab that as an opportunity, about cafes, bike tours, walk on the wall, we should flog it. We should really flog it in. And I mean that in the nicest way.
No, absolutely.
So we're putting it out there now. We should get into harness for a Hadrian Festival in 18 months' time to fly the flag for the Northeast. Coming to the story, Alan, thank you. My late dad, like a lot of men, didn't really talk much about the war, and I'm not going to be grandiose or into high expressed emotion about it tonight. So he's back. I'm going to tell you all a nice story. It's got a happy ending, but it could have been an awful story.
Right.
My dad left school. He briefly worked in a pit in South Shields, went to Merchant Navy with his brother, and with the onset of war, went and did his shore-based training at Ganges down at Ipswich, and then Devonshire to train as a cook. As the Battle of Britain raged in 1940 and was just beginning to tail off about now, still just going on, but everybody was jumpy, and we had a kind of a phony war on the South Shields to Sunderland coastline over a period of a fortnight on top of the Battle of Britain. After my dad died, I worked it out from Old Scotland Yard Naval Records in a fabulous book by Peter Collins called Shipwrecks of the North East Coast. Right. I got it on Christmas in '93, and I started full of plum duff after the Queen's speech, and I was starting to flick through the book and trying to work it out. And this is the story. Right. My dad's ship was a Warrior-class destroyer called HMS Ashanti, and 6 Warrior-class destroyers set sail from Rosyth to come down to the Tyne, just easing over from the 16th of October 1940 to the 17th, which was last week. So it was the 80th anniversary of what then unfolded.
Right.
Churchill used these destroyers as human bait to trigger magnetic mines at the mouth of the Tyne in order to free up the George V battleship, which was ready to leave the Tyne. Now, Lord Hoher in Germany was aware that the ship was ready to leave and it was ready to go on its trials. So there were definitely spies on Tyneside, we know that, and they were waiting for the ship to come out.
Right.
There were definitely magnetic mines seeded at the mouth of the Tyne, mouth of the Wear. Now, the crews on these ships weren't foolish, but when, with the darkening weather and a foul night and reduced visibility with fog, these destroyers were in arrowhead formation. So one set of 3 and another set of 3, zigzagging backwards and forwards, and they all got jumpy. I thought, this isn't right. This is not right at all. And before they knew it, as they turned for home, they were well south of the South Pier in the darkness almost.
Yeah.
3 of them ran aground at Whitburn, just below the ranges. I've been down there with a TA in the past when we had weapons tests. It's like a flat pavement, so they couldn't have got a better place to run aground. Anyway, the Ashanti ran aground at 6 knots, the Fame at 29 knots, and the Maori, which was free, managed to get off. Then the fighting started, and people started firing shots across at these ships, thinking it was a seaborne invasion to drive the destroyers up the pavement of rock and then create a bridgehead to get troops and vehicles onto the cliff top. When the hubbub, Alan, subsided, the Fame had then caught on fire. They sent for the Volunteer Life Brigade from Shields and from Roker and the fire services. And eventually they got a hawser across to the Fame. They got across, they poured foam down the funnel, and they dampened down the fire. They took off, I think, 60 ratings. They called off 5 o'clock in the morning of the 17th, and then they started again at 10 to get everybody off. So my dad went from leaving Rosyth to being taken off by a breeches buoy, and incidentally, that's the biggest rescue ever then and now in the world, using the apparatus to get people back on shore. So that's the first. And he never got his feet wet. And he spoke to the old man, he spoke to the skipper, and he was able to get home to his mother's hearth in Talbot Road. So he's gone 24 hours at sea, never even got his feet wet. but then later on in the war, mind, he got torpedoed twice in the Battle of Crete, and he put his life jacket around his accordion. That was his pride and joy. But second time was off Ceylon, and ship took a hit right in the middle, and a metal locker fell behind the gun emplacement he was in, and he was later mentioned. Said due to Brown's brute strength, he managed to buckle the door and the locker, and himself and two other lads got out and ran.
Wow.
And all he ever said to me, Mum, he just ran along the ship, and it lifted like a Victory V, and it took him up. He didn't know. He just didn't know, how far he jumped into the sea. And then when he dropped, he then had to swim like mad because the cordite in the ship's battery ignited, and the blast winds and waves under the water would have taken care of him that way. But anyway, he got on shore. I must mention another man as well, and not to upset anybody's sensitivities, but if you're in the Navy and your name was Brown, my dad got called Buster Brown. If your name's Wilson, you get called Tug Wilson, after a famous admiral who I think Tug Wilson pulled in an American aircraft carrier in the fog in the Solent one time. Right. And Jimmy Harris, I must mention Jimmy Harris, bomber to his friends, who was a young naval rating 18, and before the Ashanti episode, he got the British Empire Medal. And so if his lovely daughter Dorothy's listening, because we didn't think we could get this on air at any time, Jimmy got the British Empire Medal. Wow. And his lovely son Gordon down in Loughborough's told me that when the time comes, his late dad's medal, because we lost Jimmy 3 years ago, that'll go to the Navy and the Imperial War Museum next to Jack Cornwallis's medal from the First World War from the Battle of Jutland. Wow. Jimmy's on par with him for exploits in the war. But of course, he got into a bit of bother because he married at 18, so the skipper marched him in double-time caps off on a charge. He said, "You've got married and you haven't got my permission. How dare you," kind of thing, right? "Get your cap on and get out of my sight." He walked out and he said, "Harris, come back in, get your cap off." He said, "The ladies at Talbot Road Methodist Church are so enamoured of your story and your war exploits that they bought you a gold watch." He said, "I'll now give you my permission to go and collect the watch, but get out of my sight." And then the women mothered him and they said, "You're not stopping in a roughneck camp at Whitburn for a billet." And they put him up in a bed and breakfast on the lower top of Shields. And then the final bit I'll tell you, Alan, you've been very kind to let me have this opportunity. With the ships, the Fame had to be all refitted. It was the guys from Greenwood Yard in Sunderland was superhuman. They were lying in tidal water, coming in and out, half submerged, getting these ships repaired to get them off the rocks in November, and really rough weather. It later went on to help to sink the Bismarck. It had a hand in sinking the Bismarck, with the Norfolk and Suffolk chasing the Bismarck a year later. But the Ashanti in May of 1939, the skipper took it to the Gold Coast, and the chief of the Ashanti tribe went on the ship because it was tribal class, and the other tribal class destroyers didn't get the blessing, and he left a gold spear and a shield, and he said that this ship ultimately will not come to harm during the war, and it never did. It was even later on in an Arctic convoy in a statutory position, and as it moved off and I think the Somalia took its place, it got torpedoed. So there's this kind of supernatural kind of lesson that came down. And their main flag, it's got an item on it, which I would call a cracket. It's got a wooden stool, and the stool isn't allowed to touch the ground, but it's just like a northeast cracket. And incredible that there's this sacred stool that even now the seat that the Ashanti tribe had to tell their stories, as the Liverpool Irish people did round South Shields in the mining community, So 94, last bit, 1994, I got invited down to the library in Shields, what is now our old library, and there was a slideshow talking a guy from Redheads whose passion was diving, talked about shipwrecks of the Second World War, and I was on the edge of my seat by the time he came up to Whitburn, and he said, "I've now got a treat for you." He said, "In 1973, the Hartlepool harbour master died, and under his bed they found 6 plate glass negatives, which he took illegally, of the shipwrecks down at Whitburn, and he put them up and projected them onto the screen, and it showed you a wagon of a local firm, and no disrespect to anybody in Shields, because I know a lot of people call Hepplewhite, but the local firm pulled up, and they walked the planks across these 2 destroyers, and they emptied all the cutlery and silver tureen and plates out of the mess. They said, well, that's scrap. The folks are Shields. So they took all of that, but yeah, they've got the pictures. So my dad had a happy ending in all of that, and met my mum through the war with being in the Navy. But Jimmy Harris is distinguished in that, and everybody in the British Legion and Shields still speak highly of the man. But it's anniversary, and it could have been a lot worse. And I think there were 4 other shipwrecks in a period of 10 days. The Cairn Glen off the back of Camel's Island, laden with cooking oil, and Churchill said, it's up to the folks of Shields to save the nation's Bay King, because all the oil was on the ship. British officer sank in between the piers at the same time from one of the magnetic mines, and the Oslo fjord off the South Pier. It was utter chaos for 10 days.
I bet. Hey, it's just fascinating because it's our history, and I think I didn't know anything about all of that. It's fabulous. Yeah. Thanks for telling me.
And the King actually came and reviewed the troops 2 days after it happened, because it showed you Hepplewhite's lorry, but it showed you the white rostrum, and that to this day has never been made public. But he actually came because he was watching for his dad's ship coming out, George V, and he was George VI. He actually came to Whitburn and he reviewed the troops.
How about that? Phil, thank you very much again. Good to hear from you, man. I hope you're well.
And you, thank you for your time now. Thanks for letting me tell the story, Alan.
No, glad to have it. Thank you very much. Going to have a piece of music now. I'm going to talk to my favourite magician. I am not daft. We're going to get the star who is Chris Cross on the show very, very soon. Piece of music first. It's Alison Moyer, and ask her a few daft questions before you hear a tune.
I have 2 big irrational fears. One is being underneath a boat in a dry dock.
Right.
And the other one is being in an empty grain silo.
Oh, my goodness. How did you come to work those 2 out? In a previous life, you've had a right kicking, haven't you?
Do you know, I'll tell you how I figured them out. I stood underneath a dry boat in a dry boat in a dry dock, and I saw a film where someone went into those grain silos and all that grain came down. It used to be red ants. I remember seeing a film when I was a kid that a guy was sleeping in Mexico or something and got covered in red ants. And dropped in the river. And scared me for a long time, but I beat those.
Fantastic. Hey, there's the power. Ever seen a ghost had a strange spooky anything, Alison?
Yes, I did have a spooky moment. I remember with my first husband, we were driving in hills in Spain, and he was driving at a regular speed, and I got a very strong feeling. I said, "You've got to slow down," and he didn't know what sort of. And I shouted at him, "You slow down now!" And as that happened, a motorbike came around the corner, overtook a lorry, crashed, smashed, and because we were going slow, we were able to stop the car about 2 feet before going over his head.
Wow!
Yeah, that was quite a powerful
That's
moment.
like premonition, isn't it?
It was like a real premonition, and had we been going the speed that we are, even though it was normal, we would have killed him.
You'd have killed him. Wow, amazing story. What's been your highlight and low light in the business? Best bit and worst bit?
The best bit is always when you've written a song that you feel immensely proud of. I know that sounds rubbish, but you never get that excited by a hit. That hit moment is thrilling for a second, and then it's gone. It's taken over the next week.
Yeah.
The worst time. Well, you get a few worst times, like when horrible moments when you're singing live. And I had one funny time actually, which I don't know was because it was quite funny. But I was singing in front of Princess Margaret,
right?
And I was very heavily pregnant. And I got told to go on the stage, and I'd forgotten my glasses, and walked to the centre stage, and no microphone was there. So the band were playing the intro. By the time I found a microphone, they played the intro 3 times and sped up so fast that I couldn't sing the song. And then when the song finished, they let the curtain down on my head. And we were supposed to do one of these handshake things afterwards. I said, "I'm not going to do that. I'm not going. She's going to have to sit there and tell me I was wonderful." And that was just really embarrassing.
with the voice of the North.
This is Night Owls with Alan Robson.
Call 0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Now, I am very, very proud to say that not only do I have the North's premier, finest magician and illusionist, but also I have had the honour to be in his company on a few occasions, and he is genuinely a decent and nice bloke, which is actually more important. It is Chris Cross. Hiya, Chris.
How are you doing? I'd like the chicken with Peking sauce, some chips with gravy, and some curry sauce with fried rice. Alan.
So would I. Good to hear from you. How's things? I mean, what the hell have you been doing with yourself?
Hey, it's absolutely crackers, isn't it? You've just got to have a laugh. You've just got to smile through it all, haven't you? It's crazy. Thank you very much for that very nice introduction. I'm sorry for spoiling it with a cheap gag.
That's all right.
But I have been not gigging. I've since March. I've had 5 gigs in real life, and I've been doing Zoom shows. And you know, I went through a few weeks of just kind of lounging around, being a bit fed up, not knowing what I'm going to do now that this one thing that I've done forever can't happen anymore. And I kind of had a few weeks of nothingness and feeling a bit fed up. But hey, you know, you've got to be proactive. You've got to get stuck in, and you've got to be inventive and creative. You know, weather the storm and adjust with the situation. I think somebody said, you know, you've got to learn to dance in the rain instead of standing there and feeling sorry for yourself getting wet.
No, I hear that. It's just that, you see, you can't do the thing that you've always done. You must never stop doing what you do. And I'm sure you've been working on new stuff and new acts and new bits to do, new business. But how do you make a living? How do you eat, for God's sake? It's not like they're saying, oh, you're in the entertainment business. We'll put you on furlough. I mean, those kind of things haven't happened for anybody in the game.
Well, that's all valid points, Alan. And you know, even those things that the government put out, you know, that propaganda, it was for a lot of different trades. I know that, but you know, it was like Fatima's a ballet dancer, and she's going to retrain, and next year she might be a digital analyst or something. And they did the rounds on Facebook and got a lot of flack. And I'm 100% with sticking with what I do and not going to any other form of work. Listen, if I was absolute destitute and push came to shove and I had to go and get a job, I'm a grafter, I would. But I've got a good business brain on me. I'm not daft, and I am managing to make a living within the occupation of choice, which is show business, despite not being able to do live shows. And I'm doing that by, like I say, being proactive, being a bit creative, and a few examples are the Zoom shows. So I can't do live shows, so I'm performing on Zoom. Okay, it's not the same thing as going to a theatre, looking around at the names of famous playwrights and actors on the ceiling, and looking around at your beautiful surroundings, sitting on the red velvet chairs, buying the overpriced ice cream, feeling the real grandeur of the venue that you're sitting in and watching a live show. Zoom shows don't tick any of those boxes, but people will give me money to put on a show, to direct to their living room on their flat screen TV for their kid's 12th birthday, or for their parents' 50th wedding anniversary, or whatever. And I'll go and I'll say, how are you doing? Happy birthday. Surprise. This is Chris Cross. I'm going to show you some magic tricks. I'm going to teach you a few magic tricks with household items you've got lying around, and we'll have a bit of a laugh. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing Zoom shows with people, and I'm getting paid for them. It's not, the money's nowhere near as good. The gigs aren't anywhere as frequent. On an average year, I'd be doing 150 to 250 gigs a year, and I charge about 350 quid to go out. This is just, I'm charging 75 quid for a Zoom show, which is not the normal. But hey, I don't have to leave the house. I switch the computer on. I have with people. It keeps me sane, and it's just enough to pay. Pay bills, pretty much.
It's bread and butter money, isn't it? Though that's what we're talking about here.
It is. I'm not racking up any savings. I'm not making any money. I'm making money to survive with and managing. That Zoom shows combined with selling the Geordie Book of Magic that I wrote. So the Geordie Book and DVD of Magic, the sales actually went up for the Geordie Book and DVD of Magic on my website during lockdown because people were stuck in the house wanting family activities and things to do, you know.
Mm-hmm. How do they get in touch with you though? If they because I can't think of anything that would be more fun than having you all to myself for like a birthday party or something. If you got all the kids around, how do they get in touch with you to book something like that?
Can I use that as a quote on me flyer, Alan Robson? I can't think of anything more fun than having you all to myself.
I know I will live to regret this, but you do what you like, man. No worries. How do people get in touch though? Because I do think there's loads of people, especially now when they can't take their kids out to have the big parties and what have you, they would love a family bubble party with Chris Cross on the big screen. How do they get a hold of you?
On my website, so it's chris-cross.co.uk, spelled like the name CHRIS-CROSS.co.uk. And just Google Chris Cross the Magician, and you can find my Facebook and my website pretty easily. I've opened up an online magic shop as well, as to keep my head above water during these trying and difficult times. It's mainly selling magic props to magicians, you know, like industry trade apparatus, if you like. But there's some tricks going on the website soon as well.
Good. No, that's great. I mean, how's the missus? Everybody fine?
Yeah, she's next to us, asleep on the settee.
Like she is during your show.
Say that again, sorry.
No, like she is during your show. No, I mean the thing about being a wife and as a man who's had many of them, they do always come across as completely unimpressed after they've seen your act 3 or 4 times. In my experience, I don't know what it's like with yours.
Well, she's quite good every time I do a show. She's just as enthusiastic, and she's got a game face on and says how brilliant everything is.
That's good. Long may it continue. Chris, been lovely talking to you, man. Good luck. Keep on keeping on until we see you back up there on the big stage again. That's what we want.
Well, Alan, I must mention one thing before I go, and it will be one thing. And that is this Thursday night, as part of being proactive during the lockdown and making ends meet by doing what I can to stick within the world of show business and not have to go and do another job. On Thursday night, this Thursday, I am doing the UK's first ever drive-in magic show.
Right. Where's that at then?
That's at Craig Park Football Club, Morpeth Football Club, in Northumberland. And it's the UK's first ever drive-in magic show here in our northeast. There's nothing else like this happened in the UK. There's been a couple of drive-in magic shows in America during lockdown, but not like this, Alan. I'm going to be performing magic, and there'll be a few cameras on me, which will be projecting onto a massive 6 meter by 4 meter LED video wall.
Brilliant.
So everyone will see my hand, exactly what I'm doing, all of the close-up tricks. And when people drive into this drive-in cinema, they'll be handed a pack with a pack of cards, some trick cards, some magic tricks. So they'll be handed like a little mini magic set at the stadium. And not only will I be performing some magic tricks on a big screen, but I'll also be teaching everybody magic tricks, and they'll be learning them in the cars along with me, which will be a world's first.
Fantastic. Hey, I hope it's an absolute storm. Good luck to you, Chris. Love to you and the family. Thanks for coming on.
All the best, Alan. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Hey, he's just great. If you haven't seen him work live, and we used him on one of our Night Owl shows, he was brilliant. He's been in the studio a few times. What a star he is. Deserves so much better, and hopefully he will get that. He deserves it. We'll go and check him out at his drive-in magic show. Sounds amazing. So you imagine the family going crazy about it from your car. And what you usually do with them, you tune your radio to a certain frequency and it's all happening. Brilliant. Can't wait. I think that would be absolutely tremendous. Anyway, moving on, we have our next caller, and that is another Chris, this time from County Durham. Hiya, Chris.
Hi, Alan. You all right, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for calling. What do you want to talk about then?
Well, the first thing I just want to say is the previous caller who was a magician.
Yes.
Yeah, well, how is it going to do magic in cars with all the COVID going on?
Well, everybody comes in a car so they're safe and protected from anybody around them. They all drive up and their car faces the huge big screen. He's on stage in front of them. What he's doing is projected onto the big screen, and you tune in to hear his microphone on your car radio. It's a very cool thing. It's the same as watching a drive-in movie, except you've got a live entertainer on stage instead. So that's what I think he's going to be doing.
That's a great explanation, Alan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's perfect explanation, actually.
Okay.
It's not going to be pick a card, any card. It's got coronavirus on it.
No, there'll be none of that. There'll be corona-free cards, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I heard you talking about the killer hornets from out of hell earlier.
Oh, yeah, the murder hornets, they're called, yeah.
Yeah, where have they come from then?
Apparently, they've arrived in a village in America. They've already had killer bees there, and they got shot at them. So all of a sudden, the hornets now are getting so big that the hornets are a problem, and they're calling them murder hornets because a couple of people have died because of them. So,
no.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's really far. That's far-fetched. It's like Indiana Jones.
it is, but it's real. And what they did apparently was they used the foam that they insulate houses with and sprayed it up the tree they were living in and killed a whole half a colony of them. I don't know where the other half a colony went, but presumably, as long as it's on the other side of the ocean, let them do whatever they're going to do. But just scary. There's a lot of scary stuff out there, quite frankly.
Yeah, why don't they come up? Oh, hit a hippopotamus. Oh, why don't they say that? Or giraffes and
No, I think it's humans, because we don't mind if other creatures kill other creatures. It's just as soon as they start stinging us.
Why say hornets? Murder hornets. Okay.
Watch out for murder hornets. It's just a great phrase, if nothing else. Anyway, what did you want to talk about other than murder hornets?
Well, that's a good thing to dress up as for Halloween, I suppose.
Yeah, a murder hornet. Absolutely. I can see the costume.
We're doing, but it's in the news. But never mind.
Okay.
Right. What I wanted to talk about was Big Jet TV.
Right.
You heard of that?
No.
Oh, Big Jet TV, right?
What is it?
Photos, but what this guy goes out and he puts his HD camera on top of his van, and
right?
He films runways, and you see the big plane, the jumbo jets, 747s, and all that coming down and lifting off. It's good. It is. It's good. He positioned his camera right, and they were in front of the runway where he was allowed to go.
Right.
He's in communication with the people who run the runway.
Mm-hmm.
Working up, set up my camera so I can film the planes coming in. Now he said, "Well, you can set it up here." So he set it up there, and he was standing on top of his van, and there was a big lamppost in the way. Here's there for all anyone who's a lamppost enthusiast. We're going to be watching this lamppost for the next 4 hours.
Right. Well, okay, we've got to move on, Chris. But thank you very much. It's good to know that somebody is a lamppost enthusiast. We haven't had too many of them on the show over the years, but it was illuminating. Let's move on to a quick piece of music, I think. And do you know, we talk about greatest hits, and we mentioned that on Halloween Saturday coming. Remember, we've got our special show in the evening, 10 o'clock onwards. Don't miss that and spread the word of it, please, if you would. On Greatest Hits Radio, they're playing the tracks that you guys voted for, the top 100 creepiest tunes ever. And there's a few real surprises in there worth having a listen to. Enjoy it all day Saturday. On Sunday, we're going to be back on Greatest Hits, and we'll be playing one or two of those creepers as well. However, for now, piece of music I haven't heard in the longest time. I believe Prince was involved with this somewhere abouts. I want to play him tonight before the end of the show. But now, Toy Soldiers, Martika, absolute classic, a Greatest Hit on Greatest Hits Northeast. Enjoy.
Robson's Night Owls.
The phone-in that gets you talking.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Alan Robson with you. Thank you very much again for staying with us. Last week, due to me broadcasting from home and being ill-prepared, my fault, not yours, we had to kill the stream a bit earlier. We're cracking right through today as a thank you for you guys hanging on in there. Keep spreading the word, keep listening, keep digitalizing, keep doing whatever you do, but just keep with us. That's really important. As we move ahead, we get some great things hopefully happening very, very soon. Anyway, time for your third clue. And as I told you earlier, we always give you a greatest hit that you've got to work out what it is. Now, how do you do it? I give you 4 words. It's actually going to be 5 words tonight because one of them is double-barreled. And then you've got to put them all together and tell me the song that they come from. It's a very famous song that you will have sung or certainly heard. Wacky, peculiar, downright odd, much the same as this show. Because let's face it, we've had superstars, poltergeists, magicians, war stories, and a woman having a bit crack with the man who's sawing her leg off. It wouldn't happen anywhere else on earth but right here on the Night Owls. Anyway, here's your first 3 clues for our competition. A beach seat that's hard to put up. A beach seat that's hard to put up. The second clue, a high-speed plane named after an elephant. High-speed plane named after an elephant. And the third clue, what you have in your mouth to chew food with. Okay? What you have in your mouth to chew food with. Okay? 3 clues down, 1 more clue to come, and you'll get that in the next 25 to 30 minutes. So hang on in there. We're nearly there for the competition. We're off to Darlington, where we find our Julie. Hello, Julie.
Hello, Alan. You're
Hello.
right.
I'm good, darling. I hope you and your family are too. What are you talking about tonight?
Well, the risk of people are absolutely crazy. I don't know if you remember, I rang in a few weeks ago to say that I'd seen something odd in the sky and
Yes.
I couldn't quite work out what it was.
Yes.
It wasn't a helicopter because I don't think they can stay in one place for a long period of time and they're absolutely still. And I don't know if a drone can. Can a drone stay in one place for ages?
Well, it can, but I mean, usually it's minutes rather than hours, though, because you were talking a long time, weren't you?
It was a long time, and it was very, very distant and making a hell of a racket.
Right. Well, a drone would be silent to start with. A helicopter would make enough noise for you to be able to tell, but a helicopter noise is very, very helicoptery, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it was as loud as a helicopter, but it was a little bit different, and it was very, very distant as well. And I don't think a helicopter can stay still for ages. I don't think they can. I think they have to move a bit, don't they?
Yep, usually.
But I don't want to be thinking I've seen this, unusual thing when I haven't. But
No,
anyway,
I mean, it was your experience. Nobody can poo-poo what you've seen. You saw something peculiar, and that's why they call them unidentified flying objects, because you don't know what it was.
no one knows what it is.
Yeah.
It hasn't been back anyway, but I just wanted to discuss the amount of noise it was making at 2:30 in the morning. I wondered if anyone else from Darlington had got in touch to say they heard something.
No, we didn't hear anything back from anyone else. But to be honest, at that time in the morning, people do put it down to, it'll be the police helicopter looking for a screw or that. But you see, if it's usually late at night, if it's the police helicopter, at some point it puts its great big spotlight on, and you go, it's just a police helicopter. But I've mentioned this on the show once before. Those helicopters, I'm not saying it was a helicopter because obviously you believe it was something completely different. But I was driving home once up the A1, and it was north of Alnwick, and up ahead I saw a fire next to an overhead road bridge, and I thought, well, what the hell is happening here? And when I got up close, there was a car that had crashed into the overhead bridge. So I got out the car, ran towards the fire to see if there was anybody in the car to obviously try and get them out if there was. And I got about 10 feet from the car. Now, you got to remember, this is 3 o'clock in the morning, no street lights, completely pitch black. The only light was the fire. And I was in the darkness, 10 feet from the car, and all of a sudden, it was daylight because the police had put their big light on.
Right.
It completely lit me up, and I felt like I was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You kind of look up into the sky, and you're blinded because there's this bloody great light looking down on you, and then you hear the police talking to you from the helicopter, like the voice of God. Move back from the car. It was one of the most unreal things ever. But if let's just say, for sake of argument, that was not a helicopter and it was static and it was watching something for a long period of time and then it disappeared, what the hell was it? What the hell can do that? Because police helicopter, yes, it can hover over a place, but I've never seen a police helicopter hover for more than a minute, couple of minutes at a time, not for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Well, more than that, really. It wouldn't, because they've got better things to do, haven't they? You know, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I have no idea, Alan, but I know you believe in UFOs, don't you?
I'm afraid I do more than that. I believe that in our early history, certainly not in my lifetime, but in early history, I believe that the whole point of an awful lot of our ancient buildings, ancient tombs, pyramids, sacred buildings all over the world have been put together. And there's the hand of extraterrestrials on it. We did a series of shows called Alien Jesus 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, where we traveled the world looking for things that don't have any other explanation. So
yeah, I did. I think I listened to one, maybe two of those. But yeah, it was interesting because, like you were saying, there's things that don't have any other explanation, really.
It's when you go to different parts of the world and you see that deep in a cave where prehistoric man has been, yet on the wall of this prehistoric cave, there's a star system pointed out that we didn't discover till 1950, and yet it's been there for 3,000 years. How? How do you? Who did it? You know, there's hundreds of things like that you look at it and you think, if there's no other explanation, maybe there was somebody here that's visited us from the stars. And I've just seen enough proof to convince me. I don't have to convince anybody else. If they choose to listen, they'll hear the arguments on both sides and be able to choose for themselves. But no, I believe there's stuff going on that we are yet to fully understand, definitely. But I just hope they're not watching you just because they're after you and they're waiting for their moment.
Yeah, so I can wake up in the field in Oklahoma. Yeah. It's like you say, there's in our existence, there's only narrow what we understand. There's a whole universe, and there's far more things than
absolutely
we'll understand. I think
there's more to life than COVID. That's for damn sure.
Definitely more to life than COVID. Yeah. Oh, right.
Well, thank you very much, Jules.
Yeah, a bit disappointing nobody else has got in touch. Whereas you say that on and nobody's going to get up and have a look to see what they probably think is a police helicopter, because that's more or less what it sounded like. But I could see that clearly it wasn't.
I mean, I remember the time when I saw something that I couldn't explain, and when I see it, it sounds ridiculous, but what I saw was very close to what Thunderbird 1 looked like. For those of you that can remember Thunderbirds back as a bairn, I was driving home to Cramlington one night. It was 3:20 in the morning. Just coming back from work. I was on the bottom road at Cramlington, just about to take the slip road up to the road that leads up to the school. And on the drive up off the motorway, I pulled over because there was something in the sky traveling literally 400 yards up, not very high. It looked like Thunderbird 1, and I looked around for somebody to tell, another car to flag down, another person to say, have you got a camera? Look at that. And there was nobody about, and you get home, and I went to bed, and when I woke up the next morning, I'd talked myself out of believing what I saw. But I remember seeing it, and I remember it being clear, and I remember thinking, if anybody else saw that, they'd know there's stuff going on here. And you're thinking, but it's on the same route as Newcastle Airport. You know, Cramlington's not far from the airport. And you think, was it just a strange thing that we're building that was taken on? And your head, because we're rational, sensible people, talks you out of believing it. And now I'm still certain I saw it, but you think it was probably from Earth. It was probably something we're building, or some kind of new invention that there was. I don't know what the hell it was, which is why it was a UFO. That's the thing. Oh, hang on. The Lego man says, I actually had video evidence of black jets. Sorry, I'll say that again. Black jets that went invisible and were spreading stuff in the sky. There was half a dozen of them. The footage that I backed up probably twice vanished, said the Lego man. Were they spreading COVIDity? Dun, dun, dun. Who knows? But you see, there is stuff out there that we don't fully understand, and we also don't know what people on Earth are doing, let alone anybody that may well be coming from other places. But thank you for coming on, Julie. Lovely to hear from you again. Thanks for sharing.
You too. Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Let's move across to Stanley. We've got Angela there. Hello, Angela.
Hi.
Hello there. What can we do for you tonight?
Hi. I wanted to talk about one thing, but I've got like another thing on my mind. But I'll start off with social media.
Okay.
And TikTok.
Right.
I don't know if you follow TikTok or not.
I've seen the odd TikTok thing. Right.
Yeah. Well, my youngest offspring.
How old?
12.
Right.
Just made to get it at the end of last year. And I was like, no, I don't want that rubbish. I can't stand it. Whatever. I did eventually get it on my phone, and never bothered with it until the lockdown.
Right.
Since then, totally addicted. It's unreal.
So what is it about it that gets to you so much, that gets under your skin and makes you a supporter?
I've met so many people who, obviously, I can't consider them like actual friends because we've never met in real life. But like, they think the way I do, and there is a sort of common connection.
Right.
It has, on the embarrassing side, it's also turned me into a bit of a talk because there's so many. So many fit men on that you can't believe they don't exist anywhere near here. Where are they all? Oh my God.
So what kind are you looking for? I mean, have you got a particular type that you're chasing after, Angela, on your wish list?
Quite a bit younger than me, unfortunately. For 25 years younger.
So you want a toy boy?
Younger, fitter.
Right.
Anyway, but this is, the fun side, the positive side. But there's also like such a negative side. I've seen so many things, like people who've, especially in the last couple of months, who've actually taken their lives because of negative comments or people who've been so down.
All right. So, I mean, you're still in favor of it, though. You particularly like it. You can't help what other people say. We're going to have to move on, Angela. You've gone sort of quiet, and she's gone. We're just being told as well. So my apologies for that. TikTok, what do you reckon to it? The TikToks that have been sent, sometimes it's women doing like little funk dances with a bit of twerk going on. Then I saw one where you chuck something at the camera, one of blokes and one of girls. You chuck something at the camera and you're in fancy dress or whatever. A lot of dancey, singy, standing on your heady. Do I fully understand it? No. Would I watch it for hours? No. Would I do it? No. So it's kind of goes over my head, like a lot of things. So what's your view on TikTok? I understand how it gets grabby because one person does it, then your mate does it, then you've got to do it, and then everybody sees it and talks to you about how well you've done. And so I understand how these things kind of catapult and grow. What is the kick about TikTok? And have you ticked or have you talked? Because this is a talk show, remember. 0191 488 3188 if you want to get on. There's still time. Angela disappeared into the ether, which has made room for Rob, who's in Darlington. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Alan. How are you going?
Good. Good to talk to you. What are you talking about with us tonight?
Well, I don't know about talks or ticks, and mine ticks or talks, fella.
Right. You never do. I could imagine you twerking on screen, Rob. Come on.
Oh, mate, no, I'm bossing it, you know. Oh no, like I said to you last time I spoke to you, lad. I'm still an 82 with the tardies, mate, cartridges, and you turn them on, you just get a joystick and crack on. You know,
right.
That's where I am.
I hear you. So what are you on about tonight, then, Rob?
All right. Well, it's just well, I live in Darlington now. As you, I mean, can you remember me speaking to you last time? You know.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
All right. Well, I've got a comment about earlier today, but anyway, yeah, just I can't go see my family back home. It's just driving me nuts.
Yeah.
You know, I've got my uncle. He lives in Walton in Liverpool, and he gets carers and that, but it's not the same as like, you know, you need us and they just putting their arm around you and all that, though, is it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they're in serious, severe, tier 3, they call it at the present moment. We're just under threat of it. Have you heard back from them? How are they coping with it?
Well, he's disabled, Alan, so he doesn't get out much anyway. But, you know, it's like, I can't just go down and see him. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't, what it is, mate, I don't drive, so I can't just, I'll tell you what it is, mate. Bug Boris, I don't give a rat's ass. I'll crack on my car. If I could drive, I'll crack on my car, just go see him, say, John, me Uncle John, I'd just say, just crack us around the back, you know. Come and stay overnight and make sure he's all right. And I mean, I'm not doing nothing really bad there, am I? You know, I'm not having like graves in the yards, you know what I'm saying?
You see, whichever way you look at it, there will be plenty of people to criticize you for it. But it's the most human thing to do, to want to look after your own. And you could argue you're part of that family bubble that everybody keeps talking about, and you're looking after a man who's got nobody close looking after him. So I wouldn't criticize you for it, but I think there's plenty that probably would, saying, you're more at risk. You're putting him at risk if you go and see him and stuff. For the people that I know that have visited elderly relatives, they've been glad of it. And if that elderly relative had a choice, they'd have their family around them all the time, no matter what.
Well,
but you would be criticised for it. Don't think you wouldn't be.
Oh no, I get that. I understand people's like sort of like, you know, skepticism and if that's the right words and all that stuff, you know. But at the end of the day, he lives in an area of Liverpool where he's got no one around him. He's nearest relatives to his dad.
Does he have carers going in to see him though? Surely he must have.
What you're on about, like the daily care and all that stuff? Yeah. He's got that, but I think it's more to do. What it is, mate? It's more to do with like the mental stuff, and it's like he's lonely. I mean, he was on the phone last night. Well, this morning, I should say. Or yesterday morning, sorry, because we're in early hours now. It was like 1 o'clock yesterday morning. He was like on the phone. This guy's like 76 years old.
Right.
And he said, Rob, come down. He was like crying. He's my uncle. And I was like crying as well. It's horrible, Alan. It's bloody horrible, mate, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so but
so what would happen if you just got on a train and went in? Or I mean, there's still a few buses going, long distance buses. Could you still do that? Or
do you know this, mate? Because I haven't done it. That's the thing. I mean, I speak to my uncle every other day because he's quite poorly. I mean, he's pretty much housebound and all that stuff. Yeah, he's got basically what it is, mate. He has like carers that come in every morning.
Right.
They'll whack him a fry up, they'll whack him a fry up and they'll do all that sort of thing. But then socially, he's just on his own all day, and his brain just ticks, and it's and he just gets. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we are as human beings, Alan, we are creatures of social habits. We need that interaction with people, So, but
you see, he's one of literally hundreds of thousands, and it's the hundreds and thousands of people in his situation, and I have to say around his age, that I feel the government have done nothing to help at all, other than say to them, stay in the house, and if you're poorly, hope for the best, because your doctor's not going to come and see you. And bless the carers for what they've done, because they've worked right through this whole COVID thing. But he's honestly, he's one of the forgotten people, not by you, but by government. They don't seem to give a monkeys about our elderly, and it's sinful what they've done.
Well, they don't, and you know what it is, Alan? It's like they're not emotionally attached, though, are they? That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like there's no emotional attachment there. So for me, somebody that took me to footy when I was a kid and that, I mean, it's bloody fault I'm an Evertonian. But yeah, exactly. I was cursing him today, mate. I really was. But anyway, so it's, because I'm so far away.
Yeah.
I can't just get on a bike and nip around and put my arm around and say, "Oh, how you going, lad? How's it going?" I can't.
I know.
Too far away.
Nightmare. It's a nightmare, and you're quite right. A telephone call doesn't cut it. It's not the same as looking him in the eye and saying, "I'm here for you." There's nothing like a hug, a cuddle, and just to feel that somebody gives a toss. Because there's an awful lot of people who don't.
How old are you, mate? If you don't mind me asking.
Old enough.
All right,
I'm so old I was mentioned in the book of Revelations, I'll tell you. But no, the bottom line is with people who get past, well, certainly 70, we've been told it's like 70 to 90-year-old. That's the people who are most at risk over this damn thing. And I would have thought that's where the majority of your resources should go. And yet in this case, right from March, pretty much no resources have gone there. They've just written them off and said, do the best you can. Contact us if it gets really, really bad. But if you catch if you've got a cough, if you've got a head and you're sweating or whatever, just lie down and look after yourself for a few weeks. Well, that's tantamount to writing off people. And that's ultimately what's happened. A lot of people of that age group have lost their lives. So like anybody, you've got to worry about your family, and you're doing exactly that. And thank heavens for people like you, because without them, where would they be? Because they've only got carers otherwise. No neighbours coming around because they're told you can't mix with the people in your street. It's a hell of a place to be if you're of your granddad's age, and in his situation.
No, he's my uncle, Alan. He's my uncle.
Your uncle, I beg your pardon. But he's, the only people that he's got around him, it seems to be the carers, because they're telling family not to go. They're telling neighbours not to go. And what kind of society are we that's doing this to our elderly?
Well, absolutely, mate. That's a crack. I mean, what I was talking earlier on today, he was getting, when I told you he was getting like emotional, he was crying on the boat. And he's from that generation. Men don't cry. He's one of those fellas, And I think what it is, it's like, yes, he's appreciative and he respects these people that come around and do what they do.
Sure.
But it's almost like sanitized. It's like it's their job to do it. I'm not saying they're not good people. I'm not saying that at all. I'm absolutely not saying that. But
it doesn't change the fact they're not family. That's the key.
That's exactly. Do you know, that's the F word, mate. That's exactly what I'm saying. So.
No, I get it. Hey, I'm sorry to hear him, and I hope he's well. I hope he's not got any kind of health issues. I hope he does well, and we can all come out the other end and get back together again. It's what we need more than anything.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what it is, lad. I'll get the bunting out straight away. No worries.
Good, man. Thanks for calling. All the best, Rob.
All right, 2 seconds before you go out. 2 seconds.
Uh-huh.
We've got you lot next week, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy days. Hey, good talking to you. Thanks again, Rob. Take care.
All right, Alan. You take care, mate. See you in a bit.
We got a superstar on the line. You saw him with Ant and Deck. You've seen him up on stage with me as well. It's DJ John from Waka. Hello, John.
Hi, Alan. How are you? Keeping all right, mate? On the stuff.
And how are you? Yeah, last time I heard from you, you'd left your job. Have you found somewhere else to go yet?
Well, I'm still trying for another job, Alan. I got my redundancy money and stuff like that, so I put a little bit into the charity booklet as well for the help the local people and stuff like that, Alan.
No doubt. How are you doing yourself? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm keeping my family safe, Alan. I generally go for a run, a jog, and a bike ride, you know. But I'm just staying in the house, keeping my family safe and everything, and keeping everybody else safe.
No, that's good. Good on you, man.
Because there was a lady last week, Alan. I went just to my local shop, and she didn't have any face masks, so I bought a box of face masks of that kind.
Yeah, you're a lovely bloke. We've always said nothing else, but you're a good man, John. Bless you.
Yeah, Alan. Yeah. And I've still got your autographs, Alan. What you give us, you know, I've still got the collection of autographs what you give us over the years, Nat.
Bless. So, I mean, when next are you going to be able to do something? Do you think? Are you just waiting until all of this malarkey's over and done with?
Well, Alan, I'm sending me CVs away, you know, like looking for another job. I've just got to wait at one CV sticking in there. Like, I'm going to apply for stagecoach, cleaning the buses, you know, sweeping the buses and mopping the buses. So it's a job, Alan, you know.
Anything you can do is better than most of us. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I hope it comes off for you, John.
But I've come on, But I've come on, Alan, to tell you a few jokes to make everybody smell in the northeast.
Come on, then. Let's have it.
You know, what's your favourite footballer soap, Alan?
Favourite footballer soap? I don't know, John. What is it?
Home and Away.
Hey, nice.
Got a couple of more, Alan, for you. I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to think of a good joke for you, Alan. I'm just trying to think of a good joke, Alan. You know, Halloween, Alan.
Yes.
You know, like, what's your favourite Halloween's favourite group?
What's your favourite group for Halloween? I don't know.
Yeah, favourite group. Bewitched.
Very good.
Alan, I generally speak to your other friend, Alan, Stephen Petty, on the other radio station.
All right, Steph's a good lad.
I generally phone him and have a bit crack with Stephen Petty and stuff like that, you know.
That's good.
And, like I say, Alan, have you got a joke for me, please?
Two teddy bears in the attic. Which one's in the army?
I don't know.
The one on the tank. There you go. Anyway, John, thank you very much for calling.
Thanks for calling, Alan. Thank you, mate.
No worries. Take care. DJ John from Waka. Right. Okay, let's have a little piece of music, I think, now. And I've got to give you all 4 clues to get you started working out exactly what our song is. Now, remember, I said it's a quirky, weird, downright strange song that was a huge greatest hit. Huge. Everybody sang it, and then we never heard it again because it's not a one that's regularly played on radios anyway. So, clue number 1, a beach seat that's hard to put up. A beach seat that's hard to put up. Second clue, a high-speed plane named after an elephant. A high-speed plane named after an elephant. Clue 3, what you have in your mouth to chew food with. What you have in your mouth to chew food with. And the final clue, Misters Moon, Chegwin, Richards, and Lemon all share this Christian name. Misters Moon, Chegwin, Richards, and Lemon all share this Christian name. You've got 4 clues. What's the name of the song? There's a song that features all of those words. What song is it? It was a greatest hit. Can you name it? 0191 488 3188. Now, if you know the answer to this, if you've already got it, you should be ringing in. We've got a hardcore of quizzes. So but if you know the answer, call now, because it could absolutely be you. 0191 488 3188. Whip out me what's it. It's waiting there. Nice little prize for you if you're swift. Get to those telephones right now. The piece of music we're playing, I mentioned Prince being involved with the Martika song Toy Soldiers. Let's have one of his own where he's wearing one of them funny hats.
the voice of the North.
Alan Robson's Night Owls, the phone-in that gets you talking.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Welcome back. And if you've been answering our competition, if you've got it right, you're in a very, very unique club, because there's not very many of you getting this. If you know the answer, call us now. A beach seat that's hard to put up. Second clue, high-speed plane named after an elephant. Third clue, what you have in your mouth to chew with. And Misters Moon, Chegwin, Richardson, Lemon, share this Christian name. What Christian name is that? You got 4 clues to a very famous song and a greatest hit. Name it if you can. 0191 488 3188. Make it happen. Anyway, we're off to Gateshead to talk to Trevor. Hiya, Trevor.
Hello, mate. You all right?
I'm good, man. Thank you very much.
I just want... What's your thoughts about this COVID carry on, mate?
Well, where do you stand with it all then? What do you think?
Do you not think we're getting lied to?
Well, pretty much, yeah. Why do you think that?
Well, I just can't get my head around it, mate, to be quite honest. Honestly, it's like, do you know anybody who's, like, had it or anything like that?
Well, we heard earlier on in the show somebody who knows somebody. It's, to me, it's always somebody who knows somebody's mother's, cousin's, daughter's, grandma's friend who had it once. I know a lot of people that have had symptoms, a lot of people that have had the flu, flu-like symptoms, but have they had COVID? Who knows? We're told by the government that about every third person in Britain's got it, but I haven't met many, and I've spoken to a few that have either claimed to have had it or members of their family have. But once again, if it's hitting mainly the elderly, and it has hit mainly the elderly, would we necessarily know them because they'd be in care homes or, you know, living alone? I don't know. Why do you think it's a lie, though?
I used to like watching the news on me.
Yeah.
But like now, right? It's like there's a vaccine for flu, right? And people have been dying off it for years and years and years. So
that's
it's like now, where's carry on now? It's like, well, is this not a machine forever as well? So why is all this carry on in the media? Like about, do you know what I mean, mate? About the ratings, what you see every day, you know?
Well, it's become the news has become the COVID show, hasn't it? Because that's all it's about.
They're trying to scare people, aren't they? Really? You know,
Well, I think successfully, because I think they have. Most people are doing what they say because they're frightened, aren't they?
Well, I know, but why should we be scared? Like I say, it's like the flu's been around for years. There's a vaccine for that, and people are still dying off that. But they're not putting that on the news every day, you know.
Right, and they're also not putting what other people are dying from either.
Like I like cancer and stuff, mate. And I've had nearest and dearest who have died and who have already got cancer at the moment.
Yeah.
Right? There's somebody like who I was close to. I'm not going to say nothing, but like I say, the cancer rates are up, mate. Why don't they put all that carry on?
Because I think you're right though, because what you're saying is that
they're trying to scaremonger people, man, aren't they? You know what I mean?
But also, the thing about cancer is it makes it sound like if you die of cancer, nobody is interested. But if you die of COVID, you'll be on the news. I don't understand it, because if a member of your family dies of anything, it's a tragedy. Why should it just have to be COVID all the time? I don't understand the way that this has taken off and become this weird thing that it has become. But it has. I mean, are you obeying everything? Are you doing what they tell you?
Who, me? Wait.
Yeah, because you don't believe it.
No, yes and no, mate. Yes and no. Do you know what I mean? It's mad, isn't it?
It is mad. There's no other word for it, mate. You're quite right there.
Oh yeah, didn't get us wrong, mate. I'm washing my hands all the time and all that stuff like that. I've got dry hands.
No, I get it. I just hope we can get to an end of it and get back to whatever normal's going to be in future as soon as possible, because it's doing everybody's head in. There's no question about it. Anything else while you're on, mate?
Sorry, Mary?
Anything else you want to talk about while you're on, Trev?
No, but I'd like to give her a shout out who was on before that answer, because I think she needs to go to bed because she's a little bit weird, wasn't she?
All right. Thanks for coming on. Cheers. I think there's been an outbreak of weird tonight, but that's what Night Owls is about. It's all good. 0191 488 3188. He doesn't believe it. Says people have always died of those kind of things, whether you call it flu, whether you call it COVID, whatever those kind of airborne, there's a bug going round. I always kind of pictured this kind of, there's a bug going round. But there always is a bug going around. There's always something out there that can do you huge damage and take your life. But do we stop the world because of it? That's the question. And had I been king of the world, I would have kept everything going and plowed resources into trying to save anybody that caught anything. It shouldn't be. If you got COVID, we'll give you priority. If you're old and you got COVID, we'll not even listen to you. It would be, let's look after our people, whether they're old or whether they're young. The present moment, we're not feeding our young school meals when they're not at school. So we're not caring about them. Let parents sort that out, even though nobody's got any money anymore. And on the other hand, we've got the elderly. Good luck to you. Let us know if you survive, and we'll keep your prescriptions coming. It's a mess, an absolute mess. And I'm not picking on political parties, because I think whoever was in would have had a hell of a job on their hands. No question about it. There's Trevor. He doesn't believe it. There's an awful lot of people who don't believe it. I don't believe most of what I hear. But then again, I never did, even before COVID. An awful lot of the stuff, you'd hear the story and you'd think, well, that can't be true. They're making that up. So if they made stuff up beforehand, why is the whole world making this up? And if they're not all making it up, we should all be terrified then, shouldn't we? In my heart, I don't feel terrified at all. I feel sad that people aren't able to love one another. But that's just me. And I'm not a doctor. So look after your families, whatever way you feel they should be looked after. Let's move on. Still very few people getting this competition, but I'm going off to Annetts Ford right now to talk to James. Hello, James.
Hey, Alan, mate.
Hello, man. What you got for me tonight?
Oh, I've had a hell of a big accident, like.
Oh, what's happened?
Oh, hey. I wish I was drunk and I couldn't know what to say about it, but I wasn't. I was sober, Alan.
What happened, though?
Right, I was at a friend's house. It's in 3 stories things.
Right.
And it's got stairs going down, stairs going up from the main living room.
Right.
The lights were out.
Uh-huh.
A toilet and that is upstairs.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the toilet, right? No problem. And I went, and the passage light was out, and I stepped. But I stepped on the wrong step because they were next to each other, up and down. So instead of stepping on the upstairs, I stepped in fresh air.
Oh.
That was only one way for me to go, and that was down. And
but I mean, well, you could have killed yourself, man.
Oh, they still got a hard head because I busted a door with my head. But there was nothing wrong with my head. It was my arm and hand. I broke 14 bones in my hand and arm. And I didn't realize that.
Are you all potted up then?
Oh, but it gets better. There couldn't be nothing for the first 3 days because it was too complicated. I had scans and stacks of x-rays. So I was walking around with a broken arm for 2 days. But they were good, mind. They were good. You've got to admit, I bought them chocolates after I'd done. But they took us doing the surgery and said I had 2 choices, to block it or to get put out to sleep.
All right.
They say, wait, the anaesthetist, this is what he comes, says, well, I would go and block it, maybe because it's easier, because it's better recovery. So I went that way. So I got blocked, like me.
But that means you're wide awake while I'm messing about with you.
Yeah, but we may not have had much sleep, Alan, for 3 days. As soon as the pain went out my hand, I was out like a light anyway.
No, I bet.
You know what I mean? Oh, I was. I got screws in, plates in, pins in, the lot. Then I went and took an X-ray. Was Tuesday, and the centers for an emergency scan. And I went for the emergency scan, and now they've got to operate on it again.
Oh no!
It's because the 2 screws has went into me wrist joint.
Right.
They've got to take them out. I'm not happy about that. Like,
not at all. I mean, so how have you been? Is it your left hand or your right hand?
That's my right hand. It's the one I use, and it's hard doing everything, even going to the toilet. It's hard. You cannot even do nothing. You know what I mean?
How do you wipe your?
It's very hard, Alan. Everything is hard. You take it for granted. It doesn't matter what you do. I cannot even press the buttons on out. I had to buy Chava stuff, like tracksuits and all that. Because you know me, I will like wear suits, you see.
Right.
I cannot wear suits. I've got to wear these tracksuits and all that because I cannot get ready.
The thing is, when you wipe your backside with your other hand, it feels like it's a stranger, doesn't it?
Oh, hey, Alan, I use half a toilet roll, man, Alan, because you cannot like get, you know what I mean? No, it's awful. You cannot like. You can't do it properly, put it that way.
No, I get it.
Our position is to try to wipe you around, But anyway, you name it, you can't do it. I mean, make a cup of tea. I mean, everything is just, I automatically go for me right in, I cannot.
Yeah.
I've been once or twice having the pain just right up my arm.
So how long before you've got to leave it on for then?
Well, I'm just waiting on a letter hitting the door now for operation, and it'll be about the 12th when I have the operation.
Right.
And that's the next operation. And the surgery, I've done a hell of a good job on my wrist and arm, like. My fingers was pointing up south, Alan.
No.
Well, I took a shock, you see. As I said, if I had had a few pints, if I had been drunk, it wouldn't have bothered me.
Yeah, a bit of anaesthetic would have helped.
Aye, when I seen how my fingers pointing the wrong way, I just went, and I started shaking, you see. And I went, no. You know what I mean? And
by the time you're able to touch your winky again with your right hand, it'll be like meeting an old friend.
You're telling me, Alan. I just want to get the feelings back in my fingertips, you know what I mean? I says to them, when you get a hot plate, you get a hot plate, right? And you put all your fingers on top of that hot plate, and you know that feeling you have with it burnt?
Oh, horrible.
I said, that's what feeling is on every finger and thumb. And he says, oh, that's normal. And, you know what I mean?
Hey, we're out of time, man. We're literally chasing the wind. But James, look after yourself, man. Hey, good luck to you, and thanks for calling. Shaking with the wrong hand. Thanks for calling. Hey, what a guy. Piece of music. This is your last chance to win the competition while Shakespeare's sister do their thing.